It would help if I put the camera on, right? So let's do this real quick, and then I'll actually get started talking. And for those of you in the chat, let me know if you can actually hear me or if everything is a little borked, because if I'm talking and no one can hear me, that's kind of a problem. I think that's positioned well enough. Let me put that over here too. And now we're good to go. Okay, I'm gonna wait until somebody says that they can actually see and hear me, and then I'm going to get started. But hello, welcome. Okay, hear me fine, but can you see me? Fabulous, the microphone does still work. Yeah, but what about the visuals? Can you see the... That's the more important part. Okay, great, thank you so much. Okay, it's been, girl. For the HMJ people, ooh, girl. It's been, the last time I did a live was 2023. It was New Year's Day, and on that fine New Year's Day, I said, I'm gonna be posting more videos this year. And I was like, I have all sorts of ideas. I don't love this chat box. Let me edit this real quick if I can do that. Maybe I won't touch it. Anyway, I'll just fix it for next time. And I said that I was gonna do a whole bunch of videos, and I had a bunch of ideas, and then it is now November of 2024, and here I am, and this is the first time I'm going live since then. But since then, a lot of things have changed, and I will be getting into that. And then we can just sort of talk about the video that I made. I just got a really interesting comment from somebody who was a little bit upset about what I had to say. And that's okay. That is absolutely fine. And I would love to talk about that, actually. And then we can sort of chit-chat about where I've been, the things that I've had going on, and whatever you all are saying in the chat, because that's how these go. For those of you who are new to my channel, I do these lives in both English and Portuguese, so you will see down here that there is a Portuguese text that says Voltamos ao português em breve, because I will be translating everything that I'm saying to Portuguese, and then when I do that, I will change to this. And it will say, we will be back to English shortly, just so that you have an idea that I'll be switching between languages, because in my videos I use subtitles, but those are manual and I can't do those in real time. And so the only option that I have is to translate myself. Yeah, so I had big plans in 2023 to come back with a lot of videos, and those did not materialize. There are a number of reasons for that, and we'll get into that. But yeah, so first of all, I do these lives in English and Portuguese, covered that. The graphics are new because I have new technology, which is another thing I'll talk about. And I lost my old graphics too, which was sort of, Canva decided to erase everything that I had, which was fun. But you can see everything is here. I have a new link that should redirect you to all of the links to my social media and stuff up there. The link to my YouTube channel is now a lot simpler. So everything is actually a little bit better right now, I would say, than it was in 2023 when I was like making big plans to do a bunch of videos that never materialized. And I just posted a video about Portuguese in Mozambique, which I hope you watched. I hope you enjoyed, and if you didn't, then please go do that after the stream, or after you decide to stop watching me talk. Because if you need to go, or whatever, I don't blame you. And I think I posted everywhere. So yeah, so I'm gonna say all of those things in Portuguese now for all of you English speakers who are used to listening to that, and then we will actually get started talking about the content of today's thing. Então, olá, bem-vindos a todos que estão a ver agora ou depois, porque os vídeos também ficam no meu canal para ver depois das lives, porque eu sei que nem toda a gente pode assistir às lives em direto, então é isso. Mas eu estou aqui de volta, depois de 2 anos, em 2023, no dia 1 de janeiro, eu, pois, fiz a última live a dizer grandes coisas sobre, olha, queria fazer muitos vídeos, eu tinha planos para fazer vídeos, eu ia fazer grandes coisas, com muitas ideias, e eu até elaborei algumas das ideias que eu tinha, muita coisa estava a acontecer no mundo, e nada disso materializou. Nadinha disso materializou nos últimos 2 anos, porque estamos agora em novembro de 2024 e esta é a mais recente live e é isso. Para quem seja novo aqui, estas lives funcionam de uma forma que eu faço as lives de forma bilíngue, ou seja, estamos aqui agora a falar em português, mas temos um textinho aqui que diz que we'll be back to English shortly. E este textinho é para os anglófonos saberem que eu vou traduzindo e eu vou voltar ao inglês daqui a pouco, ou nem tão pouco, vamos vendo. Vamos vendo quem está aqui, que língua vocês estão a falar e tudo mais. Mas em princípio temos esta cena para indicar a língua que estamos a falar agora, que neste caso é o português e tem a bandeira de Portugal, porque eu falo português europeu. Agora, tudo é novo aqui, pois desde então muita coisa aconteceu, que já vamos falar sobre isso. Olá Nintendo Dark, muito obrigado. Olá flautas. Also hi to I know this isn't Portuguese, but hi to everybody. Hi Afterthought. Hi Sarah Costa. Sax Spy, thank you all for being here. Muito obrigado a todos que estão aqui. Eu estou muito grato a todos que dedicam um pouco de tempo a ver as minhas coisas. Então, o que mais tinha dito? Olha, então, tudo é novo agora, porque eu perdi muita coisa do setup que eu tenho aqui. Então tenho agora um link que te dirige aos meus links das redes sociais. Então todas as redes sociais que eu uso atualmente estão lá presentes. Agora o link para o canal é bastante mais simples neste canto. Então para me encontrar na internet está tudo muito mais fácil. Para quem quiser apoiar-me, por acaso, também tenho o link de sempre neste cantinho com o ícone do café. Mas não é uma obrigação, tudo é grátis, como sempre, é só uma opção. Pronto, sim, então, as lives são bilíngues. É porque eu coloco legendas nos vídeos e as legendas que eu coloco nos vídeos são 100% eu faço-os e faço-as manualmente, ou seja, eu tenho que fazer a edição e também fazer a tradução e escrever tudo. E eu não posso fazer isso em tempo real, então eu tenho que fazer os vídeos a traduzir em simultâneo. Então é por isso que temos isto. Quando estiver a falar inglês, eu tenho esta cena aqui, que indica que eu estou, pois, a falar inglês, e que diz que voltamos a português em breve. And I'm going to stay on this now because we're going to talk a little bit in English. But yes, thank you. The other thing is thank you everybody who is here. I keep these videos on YouTube later because I know that there are people who watch my channel who don't always have the time to be here, but would like to catch up later. And so if you don't if you can't watch the whole thing or whatever, or if you're watching, there's always the possibility of watching later. You're so beginner level, but I find the linguistics of it all really fascinating. I'm glad you find the linguistics of it all really fascinating. I mean, if you can if you were able to keep up with me and you speak beginner Portuguese, then I applaud you, because yeah, I live my life in Portuguese basically. So not lesson one. I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? Gotta get that Half Moon Joe. Gotta get that Half Moon Joe plug too. Get that good discount on that, because God knows I'm not gonna be sponsored anytime soon. Because I don't. Okay, one of the things I want to talk about today is that I'm not gonna guarantee that I'm gonna be like around on YouTube that frequently, but me coming in and just randomly posting a video like this is something that I would like to do more often. You know, and that's been pretty cool. To see how y'all didn't forget that I exist. And this video is actually performing, I think, better than any video has on my channel in probably 5 years. So that is something that really astonishes me, and I'm really glad to see it. I really sincerely thought I was going to drop a video and hello, Enrique. I just got done explaining the new things that are going on here. I have a little indicator that says what language I'm speaking, and I'll be switching between it for like major sections where I'm talking about stuff. But if I happen to reply in the other language to like a comment or something, I might not do that just for that. But yeah, I didn't expect, I mean, I just expected to post this video and then have it kind of trickle through over time. And then it turns out that this is honestly the best video, in terms of performance. This is the best video I've had in probably 5 years. So I'm really appreciative of everybody who watched it and gave it their time to learn something new. And to the people who left comments. There are a couple of Mozambicans who left comments, and they were very interesting and thought-provoking. There was one who was a little bit disgruntled, who, very sorry, but we will talk about that in a little bit, because I thought it was actually kind of thought-provoking, and I don't, you know, I mean, they were a little bit upset, but I think that some points were made that are fair that we can talk about. So, hey, Andrew. Thank you for being here. Miserable Hag says, as an intermediate level French speaker, I find it much harder to pick out words in Portuguese versus Spanish, hearing it versus reading it. Yeah, I think that Portuguese sounds very different. Yeah, no Half Moon Joe emotes on YouTube, unfortunately. If this were on Twitch, maybe, but we got a really small audience here to begin with on YouTube. I don't think I would even try it on Twitch. But maybe one day I'll just hang out on Twitch if another tragic thing happens in the world. Yeah, I also speak French, and I will say that like Portuguese, even regardless of where it's from, I speak European Portuguese, so from Portugal, and it's the sounds of the language are very different to most other Romance languages. The sort of intonation and things, so it's not very surprising to me that it's harder to pick out things. But once you kind of know what to look for, the similarities between Portuguese and Spanish kind of unlock like that part of your brain that like, I cannot deal with this Apple thumbs up thing. Anyway, yeah, it kind of like unlocks that Latin vocabulary that just is sort of there if you know any Spanish, and certainly with French helping. Eu morava em 9 cidades portuguesas. Eu sempre morei em Lisboa. Props to you. Saxby lived in 9 Portuguese cities, which is a lot more than me. I only ever lived in Lisbon. And they lived all over. So Mem Martins, which is Sintra, Foz do Douro, which is Porto, Caldas da Rainha, Peniche, Odivelas, which is a suburb of Lisbon, Póvoa de Varzim, Caniço, in Madeira, Lagos, Viseu, Barreiro. That's a lot. Yeah, I only ever lived in Lisbon. But I lived all over Lisbon, so. Canadian French sounds very strange to me, but it is very charming. And when the accents are like deep inner Quebec, I don't understand it, and I speak good French. But yeah, the subtitles, I that's actually one of the other reasons why I put subtitles in my videos, is even for people who are not just Portuguese speakers. I think if you have an interest in language, or maybe you're learning Portuguese, the subtitles on my video can help, the videos that I make. And I have, for those of you who are new, I have so many videos about Portuguese, so if you are feeling bored one day, or you happen to be genuinely interested in it, you can click around my channel and see just, years worth of stuff that I have posted about the Portuguese language and linguistics topics. But yeah, and all of my videos, since I started posting about linguistics stuff, have had subtitles that are 100% done by me. And one of the reasons that I do that so that people who speak Portuguese and don't speak very good English can still access my videos, but I also do it for people who are learning Portuguese and who maybe have an interest in seeing that and seeing what the translation might look like and what that's all about. So that's definitely not an accident, and I think that it does help people who are maybe curious about languages or learning to be able to see subtitles to go along with stuff. So yeah, it's definitely multi-purpose. Hi Oracle, happy Sunday. It's been a weird week. I'm not going to talk about politics on this channel. That's not what we're here for. But certainly it's certainly been a weird week, full of a lot of things going on in the world. And I just thought I wanted to get this video out, and I wanted to do a little live, and here we are. Oh, Paulo Henrique Schiavetti chegou sem som. That's unfortunate. Well, sorry to hear that. Canadian French is thick French, and we know that Acadian French is even difficult for Quebec. Yeah, I don't have a huge reference for Acadian French, to be honest with you. I have heard very scarce little of it, but yes, I do. So Oracle, I do all of the subtitles on my channel completely manually. I have to do it in the video editing, and then I have to translate everything and write it out myself. But I also like to do that because it gives me the control over my videos to make sure that I am conveying the message I'm actually wanting to say, instead of relying on a machine or someone else to try to approximate what I meant to say in the moment. So sometimes my subtitles can diverge a little bit from the exact thing that I said, but like they will convey the message that I was trying to get across concisely and accurately. What is my history with Portugal and the language? I lived in Portugal for like 4 years, something like that. Because I went to in university. In my last year, did a study abroad program in Lisbon. And I spent a semester in Lisbon and I got residence in Portugal, and I always wanted to live in Europe. And when I realized that I could just go back after I graduated, which was like a 6-month break back in the United States, I decided to just do that. And so I spent those years in Lisbon. I decided to do my master's degree, which I did not finish, in Lisbon. I did it at Católica. I did it at the Instituto de Estudos Políticos in political science. And Portuguese just sort of happened. It just sort of happened to me. It wasn't a deliberate choice. It just happened because that's where I went. Hey, Glizzy. I explained how these lives work for my channel a little bit earlier, but basically, like, I do them bilingually, so if you hear me speaking Portuguese, just know that I have a little thing here that says I'll be back to English soon, but I translate everything live. Yeah, so I don't know what I was going on about before I started reading comments. Let me think for just a second. Let me get my train of thought. Yeah, I'm also really happy to see the Hafunjo people here. It's nice to see you all. I know this is well outside of the wheelhouse of all of you because, quite frankly, a lot of the people here see a very different side of me on a day in, day out basis, and this is very much more serious than I normally am in other places on the internet. And so, yeah. I'm a multifaceted person, what can I say? Saxby, I did in fact do, I did Português Língua Estrangeira at Faculdade de Letras, and it is a course that I recommend heartily to pretty much anybody who is interested in it. I think that the professors, and I know a lot of the professors still from that time, and I think that the professors are very good. I think that taking the courses and having the classroom hours and getting, several hours of just having to interact with the language and learn it every day is not my Tama talk. I think getting the classroom hours is something that's really important. And I think it's the best and most effective way to learn a language, being there and also having to interact with Portuguese in your actual life outside of class. So yeah, I definitely recommend that, and that's something I did do. Vou traduzir isso para português agora, porque eu acho que foi ponto saliente agora, que o Saxby perguntou se, pois que parecia que Portugal tem escolas boas para aprender português como língua secundária, e eu fiz isso mesmo em Lisboa. Foi-me perguntado porque é que eu tenho algum vínculo com português, ou porque é que eu falo português, etc. Eu tive de explicar agora há pouco que eu fiz, para quem não saiba, eu fiz um intercâmbio em 2012, durante o meu último ano de faculdade, em que eu passei um semestre, ou seja, uns 6 meses, em Lisboa, porque foi a opção que me foi dada. Essa opção foi dada com a alternativa da Alemanha, mas eu não falo alemão, então não pude. E pronto, passei o tempo em Lisboa, e então português aconteceu-me a mim, em vez de eu procurar falar português ou estudar português. Eu não sabia nada de português antes disso, mas como eu tive a residência em Portugal, eu resolvi voltar a Portugal porque eu sempre queria morar na Europa. Foi uma forma de realizar esse sonho. E resolvi fazer também um mestrado na Católica em Lisboa, no Instituto de Estudos Políticos, porque fiz em Ciências Políticas, mas ainda não escrevi a tese, então não posso dizer que eu sou mestre. Então, mas eu fiz isso. Eu morei uns 3, 4 anos em Lisboa. E português marcou grande presença na minha vida, então estou aqui por causa disso, porque o português aconteceu-me a mim e não... e por causa das circunstâncias da vida. Então, a pergunta aqui foi se eu passei tempo a fazer um curso de português como língua estrangeira, e a resposta é sim. Falo português porque eu, durante agora já mais que 10 anos, dedico muito tempo e muito esforço a falar português, mas uma coisa que me ajudou bastante nesse processo também foi frequentar as aulas da Faculdade de Letras de Português de Língua Estrangeira, e continuo eu tenho contactos com as professoras que eu tive, e é muita gente boa. Eu acho que o sistema é bastante didático, e eu acho que a presença nas salas de aula durante algumas horas é muito importante, especialmente a viver no país, pois quando temos aquela experiência de estar imerso num país onde se fala uma língua diferente e que queremos aprender, eu acho importante também ter o auxílio de algum tipo de curso, uma aula, e passar algumas horas. O meu curso foram 4 horas de manhã, pelas manhãs. Ter esse tempo na sala de aula, ouvir a língua de forma sistemática, de forma didática, aprender os pormenores e poder aplicar isso à experiência real, da vida real, é algo que não tem comparação em termos de, quando falamos de aprender línguas, é muito importante. Então, aconselho vivamente, recomendo. Realmente foi uma das grandes decisões que eu tomei na vida. Ana da Silva, bem-vinda primeiro e obrigado. Okay, I'm back to English. Back to English because I wanted to keep talking about the video and the channel and things a little bit. I'm really happy to have all of the HMJ people again here. Thank you all for joining. Hi, Paige. Welcome. Welcome, Ana da Silva. Realizing I could never successfully speak this because I can't roll my R's is heartbreaking. Well, in Portuguese, we don't really do the R thing. It's a R sound in Europe. In Brazil, it's a little bit different, but we have a R sound in Europe. It's sort of like French, but not quite. Yeah. My day job is in adult learning, content design and creations. This is very interesting. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. So, it's been 2 years. Yeah, and I didn't think... So, I told you all that I did not expect this video to do as well as it has, and that's something that I would like to re-emphasize just because it's just something that I just kind of got this wild hair that I just wanted to finally do it. I had been reading one thing that I've been doing this year is I've been reading a bunch of books, which I can go ahead and show you. I have this old book, which is a point of contention from a comment that I just got, which I would love to talk about in just a little bit. But I have this old book called A Gênese do Português de Moçambique, which is, at this point, I think this book is about 20 years old, so it's not exactly current, but it is very interesting, and honestly, the content still applies in large part to today. And I have been reading books on my shelf, including this one. This is one of the books that I've read this year and finished, and that kind of inspired me to come back and do this and just take a minute. And I think also the things going on in the world just was like time. And I just wanted to get, I have a new computer. My old computer also, one of the reasons why I haven't been on YouTube for 2 years is because my old computer, God bless her, but she was struggling. It was a struggle. Like editing video, even going live, I mean, it was like that old thing was like blasting off to Mars, and it was honestly not really feasible anymore to make content of any sort. I mean, it was really becoming very difficult for me to use it. So I got a bit of an overpowered beast of a new MacBook. And let's just say that she runs great. There's not even a fan on. There's not even a fan on this thing right now, and I'm live and I have a bunch of things open and it's great. My old computer could literally never, and that's a really big part of why I didn't do any lives after that live in New Year's Day 2023, or God forbid videos, because again, editing requires a lot of computer powers. Welcome, Paulo. Perdeste bastante coisa. Bastante explicações de coisas, mas eu vou voltar a português também daqui a pouco para falar dos temas gerais de hoje. But yeah. And for anybody who is just joining, I did explain at the beginning of this live that I'm back. Right now, at least. And that these lives are still bilingual, so I'm going to be switching between Portuguese and English, but you have a handy dandy little indicator telling you that right here. All of these new things are looking better. The sound of the fan when doing anything. Yeah, literally. I could like think about opening a video on my old computer, and the fans on my old MacBook would just like, I mean, you couldn't hear anything over the fans. Yeah, so anybody who's just joined or has joined since I explained it, these lives are still bilingual. I'm still translating everything as I go along, so hopefully I remember everything that I've been saying in English to translate it into Portuguese, but we have a little indicator for that. I haven't been on YouTube for 2 years. We're talking about that right now, about why that is, and not preheating the Mac. That's too real. Yeah, we're talking about why that is right now, and I will be responding to chat as it happens. Yeah, and so yeah, 2 years. I did a live, and I was just saying that I did a live. My last live was New Year's Day of 2023, and then it's November of 2024. It's almost 2025, and here we are. I had not made any content. So getting a new computer really, really helps. This new thing is, you know, knocking on wood, but you know, it's been amazing, and I am really loving being able to like actually do this stuff. As you can all hear, hopefully, let me know if the music is too loud or is too quiet, by the way, because for me it seems almost a little loud, but I don't know how it sounds for you all. But I got background music even, which is something I previously had never been able to figure out, but I finally sat down and like, I finally sat down and got it working, which really feels a lot more complete now. My setup is a little bit different also. You can see that I have my map in the background. You know, a lot of things have changed. A lot of things have stayed largely the same. I think that the types of videos that I will ever do on this channel are always going to be the same. For those of you who have joined recently or whatever, I just posted a video about Mozambique and Portuguese. Mozambique and the Portuguese spoken in it, really. Got some interesting comments. I got one comment in particular just before this stream started, and that was a little bit upset with me, but I respect it, and I want to talk about it because I think I think that there were some important points made, and I can address some of those, and I think it's like actually a great point of discussion. But yeah, so 2 years, and got the tech solved. To be really honest with you, I just showed the book that I was reading that prompted me making this video, which is this book. This is an old book, which is one of the points in this comment that I received. But this book prompted me to... It really got me thinking that I should go ahead and follow through and make a video that I had promised to do for more than 2 years. Even at the time of my last live, I had been promising to make this video about Mozambique for a long time. Promises about videos that I then don't end up doing are definitely things that I have done in the past. Yeah, and then also some life things happened. I mean, I don't go into detail about my personal life too much on this channel. I get a little bit more personal. There are a lot of people from Half Moon Joe's chat in here right now, and not just my regular viewers, that's really awesome. I'm glad that you guys take an interest, and I'm happy to hang out and provide some stream time too, just to take your mind off of all the things going on and whatnot. But the Half Moon Joe people see a different side of me on a weekly basis, and not this sort of serious and you know, brain using and not brain rotted side of me. Okay, Alex Moreira said, found my channel today, was watching my video. And you're resilient. Well, first of all, welcome. That's really cool that you found me today and you happen to be able to catch a live. That's awesome. That is amazing to me, actually. I am floored by the support that this video that I just posted is getting, and the fact that it is doing really, really well. I mean, this video is doing better than some videos that I have up on my channel that are several years old. So, you know, I mean, it's truly shocking, but in the most positive and pleasant of ways to me, and I'm really, 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 really happy about that. And even though I got a disgruntled comment that I want to talk about in a little bit, I really want to talk about it because I thought it was so thought-provoking. I never will hold it against anyone who leaves a comment, you know, a negative comment, so long as it's thoughtful and has a point to it. I like to sort of take the best out of everybody, even when they're not necessarily being so generous to me. Yeah. So Glizzy, yeah, the comment I will get to in a little bit. Josh Adams, welcome back. Thank you. Welcome to this live. I am back right now. I'm not making any promises that I'm going to be back talking about the 2 years. I'm not making any promises about regularly scheduled videos because that would be a lie. Enrique, I'll get to you in just a second. But I do want to just sort of pop in and drop a random video from time to time, and I am planning on doing that now that I have the means to do so. And I have been doing a lot of studying and a lot of reading of, linguistics books and things that are just of the topics that are relevant to this channel. Things that I think that I could post about that, maybe some topics might be a little bit more nerdy and some topics might be a little bit more broad, but, I'll be definitely popping in to do videos more frequently than every 2 years. But I will not be doing them on a fixed schedule by any means. And I might do a live here and there, but I can't promise a schedule on that either, just because I think that there's, on this sort of niche, there's only so many things to talk about, as much as I love being live and getting to talk to everybody who joins. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to change this, but F diz: seus vídeos são ótimos. Quando descobri o canal, assisti todos. Estudei inglês no Brasil e entendo tudo que falam, é bem claro. Muito obrigado, bem-vindo à live. Muito obrigado pelas palavras. Fico contente que estejas a gostar do canal e bem-vindo à live. So, Enrique, I regularly watch streams by somebody who has the username HalfMoonJoe, and a lot of the people from there are in here today. And it's just a gaming thing, casual, light gaming thing. It's a gay old time, 4 days a week, and that's where I spend a lot of time on the internet. And that doesn't really overlap with this very much, but I contain multitudes. Speaking of Discord, though, so that's another thing I should address. I do have a Discord for this channel. I do actually have a Discord for this channel. So if you are a language learner or you're just interested in Portuguese, you can join that. It's not very big. We have, at any given time, there are half a dozen to maybe a dozen people that are actually in there asking questions, talking, whatever. It's pretty casual discussion, but if you're looking to learn Portuguese or improve your Portuguese or your English, then that's definitely an option available to you, and it definitely gives you direct access to me. That I'm there as much as I am anywhere else on Discord. So yeah, if you want the link to the Discord, it is in the description of the video, this live, and all of my videos. All of my videos have links to, I want to say, Buy Me a Coffee, which is down here. Instagram, I have changed it to Blue Sky for the new stuff because I don't really use Twitter that much anymore. And I think the Discord. And if anybody wants to join the Discord because you just learned about it, and that's something that is of your interest, let me know if the invite is still working. I'm not sure if it's expired or not. It should theoretically still be working, but if I need to change the link, if I need to make a new invite and change the link, then let me know. Yeah, okay. Fazendo uma pausa breve para traduzir algumas coisas para português, eu estive agora a explicar, pois que durante os últimos 2 anos eu tive uma série de coisas que me aconteceram ou que... Pois, a vida vai passando. A vida vai passando e realmente em todo esse tempo eu não tive condição de fazer vídeos, mas recentemente, este ano, eu comecei a ler os livros que vêm ganhando pó na minha estante E este livro é um dos livros que eu tenho lido este ano. Eu li tudo, como bem se pode apreciar aqui. E é A Gênese do Português de Moçambique, de Perpétua Gonçalves. Eu faço referência a este livro no meu vídeo, em particular, pois é um grande livro. É um livro um pouco datado já, se não tem 20 anos, tem quase 20 anos, que é praticamente uma eternidade, no contexto de um país como Moçambique, que está em constante mudança, com uma população bastante jovem e tudo mais, mas esta iniciativa de ler o que eu tenho aqui na estante, pois tem-me dado bastante motivação e inspiração de fazer mais vídeos. Agora também tenho condição, pois o computador, o laptop que eu tenho agora simplesmente funciona. Antes eu tinha um MacBook que era muito bom, mas não o suficiente para produzir conteúdo, para fazer as lives, para editar vídeos ou gravar em certos casos. Já não estava a dar, ou seja, tipo, para ser muito honesto, a tecnologia impedia-me bastante de fazer as lives, de fazer conteúdo em geral, de editar os vídeos e também de exportar os vídeos, pois um vídeo de 10 minutos no computador antigo que eu tinha, pois demorava mais do que uma hora para exportar, ou seja, praticamente um dia completamente gasto só para exportar um vídeo depois de editar, que me demorava muito mais, porque era lento. O computador não tinha capacidades para fazer essas funções. Mas agora, este ano, quando eu fiz 32 anos, Deus me livre, eu ganhei um computador novo, que é um MacBook com bastante potência. Potência a mais para as minhas necessidades, mas era o que estava disponível a um preço bom nos Estados Unidos, que me foi trazido pelos pais, que me visitam todos os anos também. Então, para explicar um pouco da minha ausência nestes 2 anos, o computador foi um grande obstáculo. Realmente, quando digo obstáculo, tipo, tudo funcionava mal. Era um grande problema para mim. E sempre que eu tinha alguma motivação de fazer um vídeo, pois sentava-me para gravar e pensava, não dá. Tipo, isto não vai dar. E não dava. Que mais? Glizzy, I'm gonna just read this really quick, but I will respond to you in just a minute when I'm done translating some of the things that I was talking about. As somebody who is curious about learning, do you ever go over learning how to speak it, or is it mostly history-based? Okay, that's a good question, and yeah, eu vou só responder a isso rapidamente e eu já volto ao assunto. I do talk a little bit about language learning, and I'm probably overdue to make a new video about language learning, or in my case, it would be learning Portuguese, on my channel. I do have some videos on that if you want to look through the videos on my channel after the live, or during it if you want to leave. But yes, I do talk about that a little bit, and especially in the lives, I'm happy to give advice about things like that. The lives are definitely a lot more relaxed and less rigidly focused on the topics of the channel. For sure. Paulo diz, parece-me que o vosso, eu sou só uma pessoa, ou seja, eu não sei a quem mais referes, mas sou só uma pessoa. Parece-me que o vosso sotaque está mais europeu do que antes. Eu acho que há uma explicação para isso. Uma coisa que me foi bastante interessante neste entanto de estar ausente do YouTube e das coisas é que o conteúdo que eu consumo, em geral, eu passei um tempo, principalmente no ano passado, realmente sem consumir conteúdos seja em inglês, seja em português, seja em outra língua. E nos últimos 6 meses, 6 anos, 6 meses, talvez para uns 10 meses, eu comecei a descobrir muito mais conteúdo em português em particular. Foi um objetivo meu de poder ver coisas que portugueses estão a fazer na internet e, para ser muito sincero e muito honesto, TikTok tem sido uma grande fonte para isso. TikTok, quando começas a gostar de coisas, no meu caso foram pessoas portuguesas que fazem TikToks. Eu comecei a dar like nessas coisas e ver, e cada vez vêm mais, e foi uma benção, mas para mim também foi uma forma de me reaproximar dos portugueses, e com certeza isso tem alguma influência na minha pronúncia, pois é uma coisa que eu ando a ouvir boa parte do dia, muitos dias da semana, que para mim é um ponto feliz, pois faz muitos anos agora que eu não piso em terras lusitanas. Então, tem disso também. É um ponto muito válido. Mas pronto, para voltar um pouco ao assunto da minha ausência, pois eu estive ausente durante bastante tempo. Há certos fatores pessoais também. Eu não gosto de falar da minha vida pessoal aqui no canal, pois não tem grande relevância. Realmente não é um sítio que não é um sítio adequado para falar da minha vida pessoal, mas também é uma coisa tipo é o que é. Algumas coisas aconteceram na minha vida no fim de 2022 e também em 2023, que me impediram de dar foco nos vídeos e no canal, além dos problemas técnicos com o computador. E olha, isso também foi um fator. Eu estive também a explicar que este lado de mim é um lado mais sério e mais intelectual, por assim dizer. Não gosto de me descrever assim, mas é certo que o conteúdo é conteúdo estudado neste canal, e isso é um facto, é uma coisa certa. Vou dizer também que eu também existo na internet, fora daqui, e há muita gente aqui no chat que vem de uma comunidade onde eu frequento todas as semanas, e esse pessoal também, na sua grande maioria, não fala português, não tem grande interesse na linguística, mas pode até achar interessante o que eu posto, alguma coisa, e é muito... Eu também tinha que dizer que eu sou muito, muito, muito grato a todos que me fizeram um grande sucesso. Este vídeo que eu acabo de publicar ontem, há 24 horas, é o vídeo mais bem sucedido dos últimos 5 anos no meu canal. Tipo, até antes da pandemia, desde então, tipo, eu não tenho um vídeo tão bem sucedido no canal. Os números são... Eu não tenho palavras para descrever a sensação que me deu quando eu vi que isso estava a ser assim, porque eu tinha a expectativa de postar alguma coisa e que fosse esquecido, que tudo fosse esquecido, do canal, os vídeos, etc. E exatamente o contrário aconteceu. Eu sou muito, muito grato a todos que vão assistindo ao vídeo novo e aos vídeos em geral, que me deram comentários. Eu recebi um comentário bastante crítico do vídeo que eu acabo de publicar, que lhe dou mérito em certa parte. Eu sei que aquela pessoa não estava super contente comigo pelo vídeo, até me deu o dislike, mas Isso não me afeta, de facto eu vou falar sobre esse comentário daqui a pouco, porque eu achei super interessante e eu acho super saliente e muito pertinente de falar sobre a substância do comentário, apesar da pessoa não estar muito contente comigo. Mas foi bastante interessante. E isso é só uma parte de voltar ao YouTube depois de 2 anos e ver que YouTube não me esqueceu, que eu achava, sinceramente, muito sinceramente, que YouTube ia me esquecer. E... Ryan, I love that you are somehow following along with what I'm saying. I hate this Apple thing that keeps the effects that keep popping up. Enfim, tudo foi uma grande surpresa, grandíssima surpresa. Tipo, eu não estava nada à espera que isto acontecesse para mim agora, como tem acontecido. E eu sou muito grato. Eu tenho que dizer que eu sou muito grato a todos. Todos que estão agora aqui a ver. Todos que vão ver o vídeo depois, porque eu sei que há muita gente que vai ver o vídeo depois, muita gente que vai comentar no vídeo depois. Sempre foi assim e vai ser assim agora. Sou muito grato a todos que me dão um pouco do seu tempo para aprender coisas comigo e de desfrutar daquilo que eu tenho aqui no canal. I need to. Oh, by the way, I saw. Hi, Mac, and I saw your Portuguese. Hello, and I did see that, and it made me laugh. I just want to turn them off in Streamlabs, and I'm not sure if that's completely possible. Então eu acho que isso foi basicamente o resumo daquilo que eu estava a dizer antes, mas passou, muito tempo passou. eu não, outra coisa que eu não vou prometer é que eu vou voltar com grande frequência também. Seria uma mentira se eu dissesse alguma coisa do género, tipo, dizer que eu vou voltar daqui a uma semana e vou ter um vídeo a cada semana ou um vídeo a cada mês ou alguma coisa. Seria uma mentira, porque eu não sei quando vai ser a próxima vez que eu vou voltar com um vídeo. Eu não faço ideia. Só que eu sei é que eu comecei outra vez com um livro. Eu tenho uma estante cheia de livros. Mas cheíssima de livros. Boa parte dos quais eu ainda tenho que ler. E esta leitura tem-me feito surgir bastante interesse em voltar a produzir conteúdos para YouTube. Produzir conteúdos prometidos há muito tempo e muito mais coisa por essa linha. Então, há disso. Eu não posso prometer que vai ser tão em breve, mas eu vou voltar com mais vídeos. Tenho ideias, tenho andado a estudar, sempre estou a estudar, mas tenho andado a estudar como costume. E eu vou voltar com as lives de tanto em tanto também. Eu não posso prometer lives com tanta frequência tampouco, pois num canal com um nicho tão pequeno e específico quanto o meu, só há tantas coisas para dizer, não é? Fazer uma live a cada semana não é exatamente possível. Mas de vez em quando, ou quando eu publico vídeos, pois sempre podemos vir e falar e desfrutar do tempo em vivo, em direto, aqui no canal. So I'm gonna go back to English now. And I should probably let y'all know that I'm back in English. But yes, I'm gonna go back to English now and continue talking a little bit. Uma pessoa não move o algoritmo, mas eu vou sempre visitar as lives para dar um apoio. Muito obrigado também. Aprecio muito. Sou muito grato. Ryan, I haven't ever listened to this much European Portuguese in quite a while. so it is tricky, but I can get the gist. Listening makes it hard to write English. Yeah, I get that. When a language is not that familiar to me, but I have some command over it, I definitely get my wires crossed more. I live my life in Portuguese, in large part. I know a lot of Brazilians in Barcelona, and I talk Portuguese out loud more than I talk English out loud on a day-to-day basis. Of course, I also speak Spanish and Catalan here, but that's not really relevant to my channel. But I talk in Portuguese more often than I talk in English. My English usage is mostly, I would say that my English usage really is kind of limited to if I'm talking to myself, because we all talk to ourselves, or if I am talking on like FaceTime with somebody, or if I'm like writing stuff on the internet. You know, if I'm writing stuff out on the internet, then I'm definitely talking in English, and it's definitely a thing. But I don't talk in it with people is kind of the point. And I do talk in Portuguese a lot, though. A minute of Catalan, no, because nobody would understand what I was saying. There are likely zero Spanish people here, much less Catalan speakers. I know that there are Spanish people who are subscribed to my channel and are in my Discord, but yeah, it just wouldn't be relevant, sorry. And I just am not the type of, language person to just talk in a language to show off. For me, language is strictly communicative, and so I try to keep things to whatever the majority of speakers is that I have watching, or who I'm present with, I think is probably a better way of putting that. Do I find it difficult to, that's what, thank you, Miserable Hag, which that username is really funny, but it sounds terrible saying out loud. That was what I was getting at, which is that part of the reason why I do these lives like this is because I can, because I don't get my wires crossed, like I would if it were a language that I don't speak so frequently. So for me, switching between Portuguese and English is completely normal. I do it a lot. I'm Paulo. Please. I can't deal with that right now. Those of you who are in my Discord or who have talked to me in other places know how I feel about the polyglot YouTubers. I'm not a big fan. So no, I'm not going to speak in Chinese at a Chinese restaurant just to get attention. Switching is something that I don't have a problem with, just because I speak Portuguese so often, but English is obviously my native language. I actually only started learning Portuguese when I was 19. Make of that what you will. I wouldn't say don't base your hopes and expectations on your own language learning based off of how well I speak Portuguese, because I am a little freak. But I only started learning Portuguese when I was 19, and I have dedicated just like almost my whole life to it since then, so that's why I speak it the way I do. And my Portuguese is not perfect, but I'm not gonna be fake humble and say that it's not good at the same time. It just is what it is. Yeah. What was I talking about? So I kind of gave an overview of like where I've been. God, it's already been an hour. I'm gonna be live for basically as long as it takes to get through the topics. So if that's 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours, cool. And if we get to 2 hours, or I should say if we get to like 3-4 hours and everybody has left, then I will wrap it up and we'll be done. But are there even 325 Romance languages? Yeah, that's honestly, I'm so tired of the clickbaity culture online and how the algorithms are literally rotting our brains. Mac, the hot take about the polyglot YouTubers is that I think that it's all fake and that it's just engagement bait, and I don't like or respect or appreciate them by and large. To be really honest with you, I mean, you know, and maybe somebody will watch this and be offended by that. I don't really care. I don't much care, but that's really the gist of it. There's not much more to it. And I don't think it's that unpopular of an opinion either. I would say that in language learning communities, it's a fairly common... I mean, there are parody accounts that sort of make fun of that. And I think it's for good reason, because I think a lot of the content that is made about being a super, ultra, hyper, mega polyglot, you know, revolves around people who studied something for like 2 weeks, or they learned stuff in a phrase book, and then are pretending like they speak a language when they don't really speak the language. And I just don't vibe with that. That's just not something that I like or care about. I don't consume that content, and I don't have any desire to, and I don't like to sort of enable that kind of content either. Yeah, like, I wouldn't recommend it to my friends. I wouldn't recommend it to people learning languages, because I think it also instills false expectations in people who are trying to learn in earnest. And if you're learning a language and you see a polyglot say, you know, a couple of hand-picked phrases, or yeah, like go to a restaurant where they know that somebody speaks that language and try to like have a conversation and make it all like, look at me, I'm so cool, but then, you know, the people are just doing their jobs and just sort of entertaining them. You know, that to me kind of gives people the wrong idea about learning languages and how they should be progressing and the kinds of interactions they should be having with people. You know. Oh, hi, Michaela. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, too. We've been talking about why I've been gone from YouTube for 2 years for a series of reasons, and that this video is doing so much better than I ever expected. In my wildest expectations, I never thought that this would be my best performing video in the last 5 years, but it is. And that is crazy. I love that. I'm very grateful to everybody. And that's where we're at right now. And we're talking about language learning and these polyglot YouTubers who suck, in my humble and, you know, honest opinion. Because, yeah, I think that for people who are learning languages, it also just sets really wildly bad expectations. You know, it feels so exploitative in some videos where they purposely go into the established stuff like... Yeah, I also do think that it's got kind of an exploitative edge to it, where I kind of feel like there's an element of it where I kind of feel like it pushes the boundaries of appropriateness, and I really do feel strongly about it's not... I think in a lot of cases it's not appropriate for like the way that they're going about making these things. Yeah, so my misgiving with... yeah, I have many misgivings with these sort of polyglot creators who are just sort of clickbaiting and shocking their way into making people think that they speak languages that they don't speak, and then you know, native speakers will watch them and be like, they don't actually speak that well. They just said a couple things that don't make that much sense. The people there were just being nice, whatever. Pablo says, what's the point of speaking hundreds of languages? And I agree with that too. I think language is fundamentally a communication thing. Like, language is a tool for communicating, so there's no point in learning a language if you don't plan on like talking to people who speak it. Which is something that I have reiterated over and over and over for years. Anytime I talk about language learning on here, I think that if you are learning a language, then you should have an interest in the cultures that speak that language, and you should have some route to accessing those cultures. So whether that's content online, content in the real world, you know, things that you go watch or participate in the real world, or people that you know that you can talk to or that you would like to talk to. Say you're living somewhere and you're getting to know people who don't speak English or something, or the language you happen to speak. We're just speaking English right now. like language is a tool for communication. So you have to, I mean, it's cool to speak another language, but ultimately the point is that you're talking not just by yourself. You're connecting with people. And so I think that one of the things that the polyglot people get wrong is instilling this idea of language just as the end to the means itself, where it's kind of like it's kind of putting the cart in front of the horse in a way. Yeah, especially in the United States where a lot of those creators are from. I'm speaking your language as a hobby to show off while you experience discrimination on the daily for this very thing. That's a very real and relevant point, I think, as well. And it just it sits very uncomfortably with me. So, yeah, that's my hot take on the polyglot YouTubers. Content creator trademark, yeah. I have a lot of content actually on YouTube. I have I have a lot of content. I have to hide some of it, honestly. I need to go through and private a few videos, I think, from my older days. I've been making videos on YouTube for a really long time. Even linguistics videos, to be honest with you. I didn't start out making linguistics videos and doing this kind of stuff. When I was doing YouTube, it was just back in the olden days of it was just back in the olden days of people just chatting on YouTube and just wanting to make a community on YouTube based on who they were as people. And 10 years ago I was a young 20s twink about the world and made videos because I just wanted to scream into the void and hope somebody found it. And then I started living my life and Portuguese became relevant, and I started exploring things relevant to the cultures and the context that I was living in. Not to get all coconut tree on us, but I that's what I was doing. And so then at some point I shifted to language stuff because I kind of wanted to, I shifted to language stuff partly because I wanted to make that change for myself. And I wanted to kind of share the things that I was internalizing in what I was learning and studying at the time. And so what better way than to sort of teach it to random people on the internet. And so I have probably, I probably did that 7 years ago, something like that. So I have, a wide library of videos. For the people who are new here, I have a very wide library of videos that you can go back and watch if any of the topics strike your fancy, or you think that they're kind of interesting or whatever. You can see the tragic hair phases that I've been through over time, which it's hard for me to watch some of my old videos because of that. Rest in peace, Wine O'Clock. That was definitely something that I will be privating most of. I do have some of my videos from 2014 that I was doing that, just because it's kind of funny to watch me talk back then and see the person that I was, and what I was going through, and just sort of remember the situation. But yeah, not most of them. Oh, yes, the tragic hair. I have gone just everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people who are 32. I turned 32 this year. I turned 32 this year, which is actually crazy to me. We've all had tragic hair phases where, even just being absolutely cognizant that the hair was bad as it was happening, it just had to happen. Bald can be a tragic hair phase if you don't want to be bald, but I think a lot of people are fine with being bald, so the people who are fine with it, I think more power to them. That's great. The people who don't, and who don't do anything about it, then sure, it's a tragic hair phase. My glowing skin is I have 3 lights and a whole bunch of, well, not a whole bunch, but some concealer on my face. So it looks like I'm glistening, and I promise you that that's mostly the lights. Not that I have bad skin, but I definitely have a little help. A little soft help going on here. I actually have to fill in my brows to do these lives because with the lighting setup, if I don't fill in my brows, it looks like I don't have brows. Which is, I don't think something I've ever actually mentioned here before, but you know, it's real. It's very real. Okay, we have to translate a little bit now, so bear with me. Mas eu tenho que falar em português porque alguém disse uma coisa que foi bastante interessante, falando sobre os poliglotas no YouTube, perguntando a minha opinião, se calhar polémica, sobre isso, e vamos falar um pouco sobre os poliglotas no YouTube. E um pouco sobre. What's the quickest way to do. Eu vou só responder um par de coisas e já volto. Bye, Miserable Hag. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that you came. And to my little corner of the internet. What's the quickest way to differentiate between Spanish and Portuguese? That's a great question. Portuguese has kind of the nasal sounds and the way it's written. And I will get back to that in a little bit. But that's a good question, actually. Stepped away for a minute, but I want to learn as much as I can and what I discuss. Yeah, well, you should watch my videos. And see old me talking about things that are definitely, you know, trying to break things down in the simplest way I possibly can. Because I also try to break everything down into digestible parts for regular people. Mas eu estava aqui a falar um pouco sobre... alguém tinha perguntado se eu tenho dificuldades em mudar de língua. Para ser muito sincero, eu não tenho grandes problemas em mudar para português, pois falar português é uma coisa que eu faço sempre, todos os dias. Eu convivo com brasileiros aqui em Barcelona, apesar de português não se falar aqui, tipo, português não é falado aqui em Espanha, mas tipo, há muitos brasileiros aqui, eu convivo com brasileiros, eu falo português no meu dia a dia, muito mais do que inglês. O inglês eu só falo comigo próprio, ou comigo mesmo. Ou, claro, quando eu falo com amigos por FaceTime ou a escrever na internet, mas em voz alta, falar. Eu não falo muito inglês no meu dia a dia, só quando recebo visitas ou algo do género. Tipo, eu não falo inglês no meu dia a dia, mas eu falo português, juntamente com o espanhol e catalão. Mas o espanhol e catalão não são relevantes para este canal, então eu não falo nessas línguas aqui, pois não há necessidade. Mas português eu falo no meu dia a dia, então o português que eu falo no dia a dia é este português. Uma coisa, não sei se eu estava a contar sobre isto em português ou em inglês, eu na verdade já não me lembro, mas uma coisa que me aconteceu, foi em português, mas eu vou repetir. Nos últimos 6 meses, 10 meses, tipo ao longo deste ano, eu tenho começado a ter muito mais conteúdo em português por parte de portuguesas e que eu gosto dos brasileiros, mas eu sempre queria ver mais coisas dos portuguesas, de pessoas portuguesas. Tipo, para mim é muito, muito importante manter essa ligação com Portugal e o português que eu falo. E não... Para mim é importante manter um português genuíno, que não seja, vamos dizer, que não seja um híbrido, tipo, pois um português híbrido não existe no mundo real e não vou ser eu o primeiro a tentar fazer essa ponte desse jeito. Ou seja, Para mim, consumir conteúdos em português é muito importante, é incrivelmente importante. Eu tenho começado a fazer isso também. Então, português para mim é uma constante, é uma coisa constante na minha vida, no diário. Na vida cotidiana eu falo português bastante. Então, mudar de língua, ou seja, para fazer as lives assim, deste jeito, para mim não me dá grande coisa, pois o inglês é a minha língua materna. Eu só comecei a aprender o português com 19 anos. Também. E isso é um facto para não gerir expectativas para alguém que queira aprender uma língua e quer basear as expectativas dos resultados nisso. Tipo, para mim, no meu caso, eu comecei a aprender português com 19 anos, mas desde então, sem parar, eu tenho dedicado grandes esforços, boa parte da minha vida, a falar português e a estudar português e a estudar a linguística portuguesa. Então eu, com o português, sou um caso excepcional, e essa exceção não sei se é tão repetível por parte de outra pessoa que não seja tão dedicada quanto sou. Mas isso foi um ponto de conversa que levou à discussão sobre os youtubers e criadores de conteúdo poliglotas, que têm esses canais onde frequentam restaurantes e começam a falar a língua materna do pessoal que trabalha nesses restaurantes ou estabelecimentos gerais, vários, sei lá. Que eu, pois, acho My Buying Insights, falas muito bem, muito obrigado. Como eu digo, é a vida, é literalmente quase toda a minha vida. Eu dedico a vida ao português, em serviço ao português. Estivemos brevemente a falar sobre essas youtubers poliglotas que são meio que explotam as pessoas, o pessoal desses estabelecimentos que frequentam para provar para o público geral que sim, conseguem mesmo falar essas línguas muitas vezes obscuras ou simplesmente muito diferentes das línguas maternas ou das línguas do público, quando na realidade pode ser que não falem tão bem essa língua, pode ser que não falem a língua de todo. E eu acho boa parte desses canais de poliglotas uma farsa. Sem papos na língua. Essa é a minha opinião polémica sobre isso, que me foi perguntado antes, mas é relevante, pois eu faço conteúdos linguísticos. Os meus conteúdos não são propriamente da aprendizagem de línguas, pois eu não estou a ensinar português aqui no canal. Eu nunca pretendo ensinar a língua. Eu não sou professor de língua. Eu sou professor, entre aspas, eu sou explicador de linguística. Linguística portuguesa, no caso, mas linguística. Mas eu não sou explicador, professor de línguas. Eu não ensino pessoas a falarem línguas. Eu posso dar dicas de boas práticas para aprender línguas, mas eu não consigo dizer que eu tenho didática para ensinar línguas, porque isso nunca foi uma coisa que eu estudei, e eu acho que bons professores precisam de pedagogia, didática e um certo dom de ensinar, que eu não tenho. E pronto, mas eu acho que essas youtubers poliglotas muitas vezes geram expectativas nas pessoas que querem aprender línguas que são bastante problemáticas. Eu acho que as expectativas que as pessoas podem chegar a ter do nível que deviam alcançar com poucos estudos, das formas apropriadas de se dirigir a pessoas que falam uma língua, e muito mais cenas do que só isso. Eu acho que essas expectativas muitas vezes são muito erradas. E sem dar a mínima importância para isso também por parte desses youtubers, porque é tudo clickbait, é tudo para números, tudo para o algoritmo e é tudo para ganhar o pão de cada dia, à base de cliques, à base de visualizações, à base de, sei lá, conteúdo promocional, sei lá, mas ganhar dinheiro com a ideia. E como o nicho é limitado, é preciso ser tipo, cada vez mais extremo, ou cada vez mais chocante, ou cada vez mais dizer que falas uma língua cada vez mais obscura para continuar a ganhar esses likes, e é uma coisa desonesta para mim. Para mim não é honesto, porque essas pessoas não falam essas línguas todas, e o ponto de falar também, outro ponto foi também que falar uma língua e aprender uma língua é um ato de comunicar. Línguas são comunicação. Aprender uma língua é um ato de querer comunicar com pessoas, e é uma forma de tentar comunicar com pessoas novas, de culturas novas, numa língua nova. O único ponto que serve aprender uma língua é comunicar com pessoas. Se não estivermos a comunicar com pessoas e interagir com a língua de uma forma significativa, seja em conteúdos, seja em eventos culturais, seja a falar com pessoas, e quando queremos ter uma conexão com pessoas, ou o que quer que seja, mas é preciso esse elemento de usar e ter essa conexão com a língua, com pessoas que usam a língua, porque sem essas pessoas, aprender uma língua não é o fim em si. E esses youtubers poliglotas muitas vezes tratam a situação como se fosse o fim, e não é o caso. É um meio, mas não é o fim. Doing that thing, Joe talked about this on the streams, where your lips just get like really gross when you talk a lot from live streaming. So that's why I've got this Burt's Bees that I won't put down. It's the only thing keeping me fresh. Enfim, houve outras coisas que eu estava a contar e eu já não me lembro, mas esse foi um ponto bastante interessante, que eu achava relevante traduzir aqui, pois eu já quero falar sobre esse o comentário que recebi, que não foi tão generoso comigo, mas que foi crítico do vídeo que eu acabo de publicar, mas eu acho que tem mérito, e eu acho que fiquei distraído, mas eu acho importante falar sobre o vídeo, e também a pessoa apresentou alguns pontos que eu achei interessantes e relevantes. Gonna launch the Cherry and Bee influencer channel. You know, Ryan, we're back to English now. I'm sure there's a niche for everything. O comentário, sim, claro, eu não apago os comentários. Eu só apago comentários quando são muito ofensivos ou muito pouco relevantes, e só negativos. Mas eu não apago comentários críticos nunca. Desde que tenham certo respeito e desde que tenham certo respeito e também algum ponto por trás, sim, eu mantenho os comentários críticos, sem problema. Paulo asked if the comment is still there because I want to talk about that soon. Maybe now. And I said yes. I don't delete comments on my channel. Negative comments, critical comments. I don't have a problem with that. As long as it's not super ugly, and as long as it's got a point to it, and it's just not just being negative or criticizing for the sake of it, then I never really see a point of deleting comments. For me, that's not relevant or not really a good practice. I think that even comments that are critical and comments that are negative can have their value. Like this one that I keep referring to, I think has its value. So let's, since we're talking about it, why don't we go ahead and start and address that, because I think that it is actually relevant. I think, so this person is, and the comment is up on YouTube. So, I'm going to say their username, but it's Kyla Kaises. I'm not sure how she says her name, the way it's written. But they said in this comment, it says, "I loved watching your videos, but this is not a fair or accurate account of the state of Portuguese language in Mozambique. All your sources are outdated, and even the most primary one is 7 years old. I'm sorry, but this is sloppy and unfair to the Mozambican people and anyone who would like to know more about our country." My lips are not as dry as they seem. They're just... That layer of skin is just dying from me talking so much. Yeah, so that comment is definitely somebody who is proud of their country and thinks that I did a disservice to it in the way that I made my video. And, it was never my intention to slander Mozambique by any means, which I think is something that is sort of key to say right now off the bat. I certainly didn't make... I certainly wouldn't make a video about Portuguese and Mozambique and the Portuguese spoken in it if I wanted to trash the country or anything. So while I understand where that person is coming from, I do think that I don't necessarily totally agree, but I think that there are some relevant points there. And I do suspect that the dislike on the video did come from them, and I respect it. It's completely fine. But, I will say this about Mozambique. This is a person who I think is, very sensitive to the fact that the country is changing very rapidly. The majority of the country is aged, 15 or younger. And so thinking about how time goes by, when a country has a demographic situation that is so young, and growing so quickly, that implies that there is a lot of change happening in the country. And so 7 years, when the last census was done in Mozambique, is kind of an eternity. And definitely the country has progressed from some of the stats that I cited in that video. I think they probably took issue with things like the literacy rate that I cited, and what else would probably be points of contention. They probably maybe took issue with the numbers that I cited for the amount of Portuguese speakers. They maybe took issue with the fact that I said that Mozambique is, a couple decades behind, or a decade or two behind Angola. That I stand firmly behind. I think it is very much still the case. But, I understand. So when I get a comment like that, I think that there's some very relevant things to sort of unpack there. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of address, and I responded to this comment as well, but just to have on YouTube in video on this live for posterity's sake, if that person happens to watch the live, or if other people happen to watch the live who think similarly, I think, what claps? What's clapping? That's probably the music. I think that I think that is actually a really relevant point, and I think for somebody who lives in a country that is developing and that is really undergoing such strong change demographically, educationally, reducing inequalities, is urbanizing rapidly as well, where urbanization is something that has a strong effect on the outcomes of the country, and even things like in the background music. Yeah, and that shift toward a more urban population does have implications for things like the spread of Portuguese in the country and its consolidation, and sort of the fundamental basis of the video that I made. Ultimately, I still stand by my video because I think that using the census data from 7 years ago is not that crazy, even though the country is growing and changing very rapidly. The things that I said are not really wrong. I don't fundamentally believe that the things that I said are wrong, and I don't fundamentally believe that it's painting an unfair picture of the country. But I think that when you are somebody from there and you are sensitive to these things in a much more personal and tangible manner, it can definitely feel like this, language specialist is undermining the things that are going on in the country. And I certainly respect that perspective, even though I don't totally agree with it, and I definitely would not say that I was grossly misrepresenting the country or particularly sloppy. I did leave some suggested, reading in the description of my video, but I definitely did not leave an exhaustive list of everything that I consulted and used to compile my video. The census is the most recent data that we have that is all encompassing and broad-based, in the sense that it covers demographic details about these things all kind of in one place, and gives a snapshot in time of the demographic situation of the country. So I did include some numbers that were not from then, like in the video, but I also I want to say that I used almost exclusively numbers from the census just to keep things consistent in the video, and that's something that they might have taken issue with, that they might feel like I picked and chose. I don't think that the way that I did that was necessarily irrelevant to the video. I don't think that had as much of an impact on the content of the reality on the ground in the country as it might seem. But that being said, I do think that it's interesting to get comments like that from people who are living that experience and have a personal investment in it, and would like to see, a rigorous standard of research employed in the things being done to that effect, where for me, it's not me trying to undermine anything. Certainly, I don't think it paints as inaccurate of a picture of the country as this person thinks. And I had another Mozambican who commented on the video in a very different manner and was enjoyed it. So I think that we have contrasting opinions going on here. But I think that there is some relevance to that, where I think that having a rigorous standard of where is the information that you're coming from? Where's the information that you're sharing coming from? That's what I meant. Asking the question of where is the information that you're sharing to paint this picture, making a profile of a place like this, where is that coming from? Is it current? And are you deliberately misleading people? Certainly I used the most current stuff that I found that was consistent across the board, in a generalized way. Because the other thing about it is that when you are doing kind of more academic type of presentations on these things, it's important to be very consistent. So the numbers that I used to make the points that I did needed to be consistent. It needed to be consistent across different factors. So if I'm talking about things from the census, I need to keep things in that data set. Otherwise, I'm picking and choosing things that don't correspond with one another. And again, we don't have an official population count. There are estimates for things like urbanization. There are estimates for population. But when we have a census that was done 7 years ago, although that is a very long time for a country that has, a very young population, ultimately, it's not that long ago. and it can give us an idea of at least where it was then, which can inform where it might be changing and the direction it might be going in the future. Yeah. And there are maybe a couple of points I might have chosen to do differently if I redid the video now, but there are always those cases in every video I do. So, but yeah, I mean, I think I appreciate comments like that because I think that there's always something thought-provoking and relevant to what people have to say. Even if it's, again, not necessarily the most generous with me about it. And I hope that they didn't unsubscribe, but if they did, it's fair. Let's see. Yeah, the claps in the background music. I'm just glad that we have background music now. Let me tell you, doing these lives completely in silence is crazy. Urbanization probably has major implications for the indigenous languages too. Yes, it does. If you go back and watch my video about Angola, which I actually said in the video that you probably should do if you watch that, and I would recommend it to everybody. Actually, click on the Angola video that I had kind of linked in the YouTube stuff. And if you watch that, actually, I talk a little bit about that because the shift in Angola is more consolidated, and it does have there is a lot of relevance to what that implies for indigenous languages in these countries, and the state of diglossia in these places. I think maybe emotion played more of a role in the comment than they might have meant. I'm sure it did. Yeah, when you live somewhere and you care deeply about it, it's your country after all. You want people to see it in the best light possible, and I completely think that's fair. I think that comment is very fair from that regard. And somebody asked about, is the comment still up? Yes, of course it's still up. And that's another reason why I would not want to ever delete a comment like that, because I think that there is something constructive to take out of it. Yeah, in the US it's done every 10 years. Canada does it a little bit more frequently, but a lot of countries don't do censuses on a regular basis. So sometimes they just have the census they have, and that's the data that they have. And sometimes for academic purposes, some countries, when they haven't had a census in a long time, you kind of can't use that data, and you have to use sources for things that are more varied and can be less, can line up less neatly. But 7 years ago isn't, in the grand scheme of things, 7 years ago isn't that long ago. But I understand this person's frustrations with how long ago that is, given just the state of demographic shift in the country. I always think any criticism should be accompanied by counter arguments and respective sources, otherwise it just doesn't make much sense. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, I think one YouTube comment from somebody who's frustrated and thinks that I'm shitting on the country is maybe not going to do that, because it's, I think, maybe coming from a place more of emotion at first, but certainly, I mean, I'm well aware that there are maybe more up-to-date statistics on things like the literacy rate in the country, and other things that make the country seem a lot worse maybe than it is now, in that span of 7 years, where I think that they're probably reacting the most strongly to. But again, it's just it's just having the same data set in order to keep everything constant and not have changing variables. When we're talking about research and stuff, and especially doing something like a video that's necessarily going to be more generalized, I valued that more than taking one thing from one year here, one thing from another year here, or whatever. And maybe it was less flattering than this person had hoped, but at the same time, I also don't necessarily expect people who are reacting like that to provide sources and other things. Also kind of not their job, but I definitely agree that for people who have disagreements on things like that, that's certainly, I think it's important for people to not just say, oh, you're wrong, but actually say how and where they got that idea from. We'll watch that. Cool. Thank you for watching. When it comes to researched information, because certainly no one is going to accuse me of not having researched my videos. I definitely research my videos very extensively, and I always try to use the most up-to-date information I possibly can, or that's relevant. You know, sometimes new information can be unreliable, and sometimes new information can be unreliable. It depends on where it comes from. You know. I should admire that you didn't delete the comment, not only responded but found value in it. Yeah, I mean, I did tell that commenter I appreciated their comment, because I genuinely did. You know, I just hope that they see that, and I hope that they see where I'm coming from and aren't just gonna flounce out of watching my videos, because that would be kind of unfortunate. Yeah, that's definitely something. And I wanted to talk about that because that's literally from the video. So, and I wanted to address that just because it happened right before I went live. that person posted that comment right before I went live. So yeah, good timing, honestly. Really good timing. Ok. Where are we? Agora eu vou traduzir tudo isso para português, pois já comecei a falar sobre o comentário que eu recebi da pessoa que não estava muito contente com o vídeo de ontem, que eu publiquei. E eu vou procurá-lo outra vez, porque eu deixei o comentário. Esquece. A pessoa disse que adorava ver os meus vídeos, mas que não achava o vídeo justo, nem honesto, nem certo, com respeito ao estado da língua portuguesa em Moçambique, que as fontes eram todas as fontes eram datadas, e até a fonte principal tem 7 anos, que é verdade. 2017 foi há 7 anos. E diz: desculpa, mas isto foi impreciso e pouco justo ao povo moçambicano e qualquer pessoa que gostava de saber mais sobre o país. Eu não concordo em geral. Eu acho que os dados são o que são. Eu usei o censo. Para começar, eu usei o censo de Moçambique, que foi há 7 anos. Há 7 anos, pois não é tanto tempo assim, mas para começar, eu só queria responder ao comentário desta pessoa, Kayla Kizis, não sei como pronuncia o nome de família, mas Kayla deixou este comentário e na verdade eu achei o comentário bastante interessante. Receber comentários críticos não é um problema para mim. Eu nunca pago comentários críticos, eu acho que sempre têm valor, sempre que sejam comentários com algum ponto de vista ou algo não só a criticar por criticar, mas achei muito interessante receber este comentário justo antes de começar a live. Foi muito bom receber o comentário, porque eu acho que há algumas coisas por trás do comentário. A pessoa é uma pessoa moçambicana, claramente orgulhosa do seu país e que quer mostrar o país da melhor forma possível para o mundo, e que não quer que as pessoas fiquem com ideias erradas sobre o país, e que pode muito provavelmente achar que eu deixei uma imagem injusta e pouco certa do país, do estado do país, muito provavelmente sensível aos dados que eu usei sobre coisas como a taxa de analfabetismo e a desigualdade inerente nisso, desigualdade de género inerente nisso, e talvez outros pormenores, a taxa de urbanismo, talvez, sei lá, mas a pessoa ficou sensível com o facto de eu ter usado o censo de 2017 há 7 anos. Primeiro, para começar, que eu... Olha... na verdade, para começar, eu queria deixar em vídeo, agora na live, porque eu recebi o comentário e eu achei super valente deixar na live se a pessoa ou outro alguém... sei lá, pode ser essa pessoa, pode ser outra pessoa que tem a mesma opinião, ou sei lá, mas se vierem ou vier ver a live ou assistir ao vídeo depois, eu vou responder um pouco. Eu respeito o comentário, eu respeito o ponto de vista, eu respeito a reação de um ponto de vista de orgulho também, mas eu também tenho os meus motivos por usar os dados que eu usei, que eu não acho injusto usar o censo, pois o censo é algo muito útil, é algo que só se faz de tanto em tanto tempo em qualquer país. Nem todos os países são regulares com os censos, e às vezes quando países perdem o hábito de realizar um censo regularmente, não podemos usar os dados, mas fazer um censo a cada 10 anos, por exemplo, é uma prática bastante comum no mundo, e não me parece que 7 anos seja um tempo tão longínquo quanto a pessoa faz parecer. E também temos uma coisa que é importante, manter é importante manter os dados todos alinhados. Quando queremos dar um panorama em tempo sobre uma situação demográfica, especialmente no contexto de um país que está a mudar rapidamente, um país como Moçambique, que tem mais de metade, ou metade, algo assim, da população que tem 15 ou menos anos. É claro que as coisas vão mudar rapidamente, isso é um facto consagrado, mas para ter todas as variáveis constantes, é preciso usar a mesma fonte de dados. E tentei fazer isso no vídeo. Em geral, usei o censo para boa parte dos números, que eu acho que foi o ponto de contenção da pessoa, especialmente nos números menos, digamos assim, favoráveis para o país, que refletem pior no estado do país, demográfica, educacionalmente, como quer que seja. Mas eu, na verdade, acho bastante justo. Não existem dados tão consistentes de fontes oficiais do país, necessariamente, para coisas, mas eu sei que existem dados mais recentes, especialmente no que tange a taxa de literacia ou analfabetismo. Eu usei analfabetismo no país, neste caso no meu vídeo, mas eu sei que existem dados mais recentes, mas também não seria justo falar usando a base do censo, usando o censo como base, e depois meter um dado mais recente para uma coisa específica. Eu usei estimativas da urbanização em determinados momentos no vídeo, porque sim, tem implicações para o futuro do português no país, mas em geral eu usei os números do censo, porque sensivelmente são os números todos abrangentes para todas as áreas e que se alinham uns com os outros nesse momento no tempo. Podemos extrapolar que o país está em grande mudança, que a mudança é rápida e que a situação seja talvez bastante diferente agora, hoje em dia, mas também, falando dos números, estimativas não são dados concretos, como o Henrique diz agora. Isso também é verdade. E sempre que eu digo que alguma coisa é uma estimativa, não podemos inferir que seja facto. Um censo, para todos os efeitos, um censo é facto. Da melhor forma que temos. A coisa do censo é super normal. O IBGE demorou 12 anos para fazer um novo. Doía a alma usar dados de 2010 em artigos, mas era o que tínhamos. E isso é um facto também. Às vezes é o que temos. É a mesma coisa nos Estados Unidos, por exemplo. Às vezes temos de usar dados do censo que foi realizado há muitos anos. São de 10 em 10 anos. E o país de lá também muda. Bastante em 10 anos. Outra vez, num país como Moçambique, com uma população tão jovem, isso pode ser muito mais drástico. A situação é mais... a mudança é mais drástica. Mas os dados são os dados que temos. E para ser consistente, tem disso. Eu acho que a pessoa, querendo rigor e os dados mais atuais possíveis, tem muita razão. Tem toda a razão no mundo. Ninguém me vai acusar de não fazer pesquisa para os vídeos e de não estudar e saber do que eu falo, porque eu não aceito isso, mas a pessoa não fez isso. Mas que me diz que os dados são desatualizados e que eu precisava de ter mais rigor e usar dados mais atuais, mais atualizados. Eu acho que tem razão, em parte, aí. Eu também acho que devemos sempre procurar usar os dados mais recentes, desde que sejam consistentes e não mudar as variáveis das coisas. E tem disso. Se há alguns pontos no vídeo que eu faria diferentemente, agora se eu fizesse o vídeo de novo, claramente há coisas que eu diria de forma diferente. Há pontos que eu, se calhar, metia do vídeo ou que eu dava mais foco... Sei lá, dava mais foco para falar de forma menos geral ou ser um pouco mais específico ou sei lá. Mas há pontos no vídeo que eu refazia de forma diferente, sem dúvida. Qualquer vídeo que eu faça é assim. Eu sempre faço os vídeos e depois eu penso, há um pormenor aqui, acolá, que podia ser diferente. Podia. Mas eu, no fundo, respeito o comentário. Eu respeito que a pessoa é orgulhosa do seu país e quer que o pessoal que vir o vídeo fique com uma ideia certa do país. Mas eu, para ser muito sincero, não acho que eu tenha dado uma imagem tão errónea do país quanto o comentário faz parecer. Eu nisso discordo. Todos podemos ter as nossas opiniões. Se a pessoa vir isto e discordar, tem todo o direito em discordar. Espero que continue a ver os meus vídeos. Espero que não desistiu do canal por causa disso, mas não tenha desistido do canal. Mas enfim, é isso. Eu tenho muito disso. Tipo, às vezes temos uma reação um pouco emocional também às coisas. Mas eu acho que houve pontos valiosos no comentário e o que eu achava bastante interessante comentar isso, pois é relevante para o vídeo que eu acabo de publicar. E recebi o comentário agora justo antes de clicar começar a live. Essa coisa do censo é super... Sim. As estimativas não são dados concretos. E é isso. Todos os meus vídeos são à base de pesquisa. Todos os meus vídeos são estudados. Eu uso os dados mais recentes possíveis de forma mais consistente possível, à medida que essa informação me é fornecida e à medida que eu vou estudando e fazendo pesquisa para ter uma imagem concreta e informação certa sobre o assunto. O perfil deste país não foi diferente. Okay, let's go back to English for a little bit. There were other things that I wanted to talk about today, things that I have been doing. Of course, the chat as well. If you have anything that you want to... Oh, I was going to respond to Michaela, because there was an interesting question that she asked for engagement, and I love engagement. Michaela earlier asked what the quickest way to differentiate between Spanish and Portuguese is. And then Glizzy just said something that I think is relevant and related. So I will address both of those things. Endings. I'm surprised that we haven't gotten an ad from Spotify, to be honest with you. Because if there's an ad on Spotify, I don't pay for Spotify, so there might be an ad at some point. Because it's been 2 hours. So if y'all hear an ad, I'm so sorry, but I'm not paying for that. I pay for YouTube music, but I don't want to have my stats full of stream music on YouTube music. Anyway, so Michaela asked the best way to differentiate. I'm not trying to jinx us. Yeah, Michaela asked the best way to differentiate between Portuguese and Spanish. So Portuguese has nasal vowels, so the sound, like, that's nasal. Portuguese has, like, has has and oinge, and a lot of sounds like that. Listening to it, it's definitely very, very different. But in writing, I mean, I think that there are a lot of certain sort of characteristic things which I think are very nice about Portuguese. I love the way that the C with the little tail on it looks, and the way they use the tilde, or tilde, depending on how you want to say it in English, to mark a nasal vowel. There's something very aesthetically pleasing about that to me. I really like the way that Portuguese is written. Spanish, of course, has the ñ with the N with the tilde on it. And Portuguese is not. Portuguese uses actually two things. So for people who are from the HMJ chat, and people who are not familiar with Portuguese, who are here, and who are still here after 2 hours, thank you for being here. But if you have never encountered Portuguese, before, and you see NH, or you see LH, those actually make... Enrique, who the hell do you think paid for my MacBook? Because it certainly wasn't me. But I also pay for YouTube music. So YouTube Premium YouTube music. So I'm not paying for two music services. Absolutely not. So when you see NH, it's the same thing as Spanish ñ with the N with the tilde on it. So NH in Portuguese is a ñ sound. And I really like the way that looks. And the LH is a sound that actually English speakers have a really, 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 really hard time with, which I have discovered through my mother visiting me and me trying to teach her little things. And whenever there's a word with this sound in it, and this is actually a very common sound in Catalan and some of the streets here. There's one diabolical street here that English speakers have a really hard time pronouncing. But that LH makes a y sound. And that y sound is present in the name of one of the streets here in Barcelona called Llull. So it's Llull. And it's really, really hard for English speakers to pronounce. And eu vou repetir que eu não preciso de 2 serviços de música. I do not have a sugar daddy. You fill in the rest of that. My parents about my computer. Yeah, so Glizzy says that the language is quite beautiful. It sounds sort of, to an untrained ear, like a mix of a few different language tones and comes together nicely. Ryan says that European Portuguese sounds whispery because of the deleted vowels versus Spanish. I think whispery is probably an interesting, I don't think I've ever heard it described that way before. I'll type out what the street is called here in chat. But Llull is named after... No, I think it's a really interesting description. I don't think there's a wrong description for what you hear. So Llull is from Ramon Llull, who is the sort of classical poet of the Catalan-speaking world. And so Llull. If it were written in Portuguese, it would be more like this. Llull. There you go. There you got it. There's the whole spiel. I am taking quite frankly. I wouldn't say no. Not sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even gonna entertain that one. But yeah, Llull. And Catalan uses lle a lot. And actually I'd say even more than Portuguese. But yeah, so when you see those things written out, a lot of English speakers who are just familiar with Spanish don't know what the H means there. And they kind of don't realize that it has a purpose. And it does. So when you see NH, it's a ny sound. So funny. A Portuguese sugar daddy is my I mean, you know, it doesn't exist, but like if it did, whew, that would be incredible. But yeah, that's not been in the cards for me. I do have a fun story about one of the things that happened to me. Well, happened to me. One of the things that I have kind of discovered and been through in the time that I have been gone from YouTube, because it's kind of like a thing that has an impact on my life, but isn't necessarily relevant to like language stuff. But one of the stories of things that I discovered is that I might, maybe, probably not, I don't know, have the right to Mexican citizenship. And that's a whole story that I learned about in my absence, and it's actually one of the distracting reasons why I have not been around actually on YouTube, because I kind of wanted to have this whole thing sorted out, and then I might make a video about it as one of the rare sort of personal life type of things that I talk about on here, because I think it's sort of a cultural thing that's very unexpected, and it's not resolved yet, so I haven't, but you know, it's a cultural thing that is relevant to me, so I think it's kind of interesting. But I was doing some genealogy, and I found something that was very interesting, because my family is not Mexican, just to start off with. My family is very white American, and I am not Mexican ethnically. But I did some sleuthing through my genealogy, because I, like many people, don't know very much about like my ancestors, the people that I came from. Certainly not that much about anything that predates colonization. There aren't really very many records until I discovered some more recently, but like I don't know that much about my family going back several generations, and I don't really know much about those people in general. But I kind of went on this like genealogical quest to learn more information about certain parts of my family back in time. And I discovered that my great-grandfather on my father's side was born in Mexico, in Monterrey, in the north of Mexico. Now, this was a really long time ago. This is like 120 years ago. But Mexico's citizenship law works in such a way that if you are born in Mexico, you have Mexican citizenship, which is the same as all but like I think one country in the Americas is like that, basically. So I thought that was really interesting. I was like, that was just a little quirk of like the family tree, and I didn't think much of it. And then I revisited it because I got really curious. I was like, what's going on with this? And so it turns out that in 2021, Mexico passed a change to their constitution that allows for intergenerational, like unlimited intergenerational transmission of citizenship through people who are Mexican citizens at birth. In order to be a Mexican citizen at birth, you have to either be born to Mexican citizens or you have to be born in Mexico. And then if, you've got all your bases covered if it's both. So my great-grandfather, gotta go back 3 people from me, was born in Monterrey. So I thought to myself, would this be relevant to me? And so I had a friend who lives in Mexico City do a little sleuthing and get me a birth certificate from 1905. And the process of getting this birth certificate was really interesting because that birth certificate was so old that we had to go to the Nuevo León State Archive and dig out the birth certificate from the state archive to then take to the civil registry to be digitized and put in their system. But a friend of mine who lives in Mexico City, who's a Mexican woman, was really, really, really nice and super kind and did all of this stuff for me. And I got 2 copies of this birth certificate from like before the Mexican Revolution. And it is a direct line relative of mine. But there's a wrinkle in this story because my grandfather, so this is my great-grandfather, next comes my grandfather. He's been dead since before I was born. And then my father, who is still alive. And then me. So my grandfather has been dead for a long time. And he inherited Mexican citizenship this way, but it's not clear yet if I'm going to be able to posthumously register him in the civil register and continue the line of descendants who have citizenship or not. So I'm kind of in the process of talking to a lawyer about how feasible would that actually be. If it would be feasible, if it would be not feasible, if it's just a pipe dream, if it's not, I don't know, whatever. It's something that I am in the process of talking to a lawyer about doing. Because if I can, then I will be a Mexican citizen. Probably sometime soon, if it's possible. Because then all I have to do is just register my father, and then I can do that. And this little white boy from the middle of the United States is also technically Mexican. Yeah. Palatal consonants, it's a blast. The serious linguistic explanation, I think, was over. When Sasha was not posting videos, he's not in a cryogenic stasis. That is also true. I was not static. I am a living, breathing person, and living, breathing things. Just recently found out where your great-great-grandparents were from in Italy, but the process of getting it gives you a headache. I know that the Italian citizenship it's fairly straightforward, but I think it's a pain in the ass to get all the documentation to like prove it, and can be expensive. So, I mean, but it's worth it if you ever want to live in Europe. You might as well do it. Posthumous certificate of brush. I mean, you tried. I don't think that one. I think we're gonna need to workshop that one, Paulo. This is me soft launching. Probably not. What would I do with the passport? I don't know what I would do with the passport, but if I had the passport, since I would be technically speaking a Mexican citizen by birth and not through naturalization, I could pretty easily acquire Spanish citizenship if I wanted to, which might be interesting. And I would be able to keep my Mexican passport with that. How often would I visit? I would try to visit, I would try to visit somewhat regularly. I haven't been to the United States since 2013, but I would certainly be inclined to like go to Mexico and, see things and actually get to know the country that's maybe giving me a passport. Because that's something that's a little, a little unusual. It would be a little strange to have a passport of a country that you don't know anything about. I mean, I know I can place all the Mexican states on a map and stuff, and I don't have a huge background in like Mexican history, and I have a limited amount of Mexican cultural references and things. Although I will say that on the heels of finding all of this information out, I did get a lot of content that started to be pushed to me from Mexico, so that was kind of cool. Not backdoor into the EU. I mean, kind of. I mean, I'm here now. Citizenship, though, yeah. Ultimate citizenship backdoor. You keep saying backdoor, and that's an interesting choice of verbiage. Ultimate citizenship backdoor to the place I currently live. Sure, yeah, I mean, that would be really interesting, right? Have 3 passports fairly easily. I would love that. Two personals, please don't feel the need to answer. No, that's actually fine. What prompted my move from the United States? I always wanted to live abroad. I always felt like I was stuck in a really boring, sort of monotonous culture of mostly white people in an unremarkable suburb in a literal rectangle state, and I just always thought that the world was bigger and more interesting than just that, and I wanted to leave. And I always was interested in European languages and cultures, so that's where I kind of wanted to land, and that's where I did land. And I grew up having that feeling, and then I wanted, as I became an adult, I wanted to figure out how I could sort of make it happen that I could live in Europe somewhere. I originally thought I would go live in France and do stuff with French, because I also speak French, and I learned French from a very young age. And then Portugal happened, and then it just sort of happened to me, and it was just sort of like my ticket. And then I haven't been back because I haven't had any interest. I greatly prefer people to come visit me instead of the other way around, because Colorado, I don't think has anything else to offer me in terms of seeing stuff or doing things there. I spent 20 years there. I think that was enough. I've seen mostly everything I wanted to see in the United States. So I don't have a huge desire to go back. And yeah, that's kind of, that's not an overly, I think I've answered that question on this channel before, actually. But that's kind of like the quick backstory. How many languages do I speak? Not Colorado. I can't stand that. I speak English, Portuguese, Spanish, Catalan, and French reasonably well in the latter 3 cases. and I speak, I don't really speak Russian anymore, but I do understand a lot of it, and I don't have any problems with its grammar. So I never say that I speak Russian anymore. I never really said I spoke it, to be honest with you, but I have a deep background with Russian, and I did actually, one of my majors in college was in Russian. So it's like 5.5. And I use French probably the least, but it never seems to go away. Like when I watch shows in French, I don't need subtitles. And after a few minutes of, trying, after like a few minutes of trying and making the adjustment, I get back into speaking French, no problem. Or like being in France, like I don't need that long to get back to like talking to people in French. It's fine. I think I just reached a high enough level of it where it just doesn't, even though I don't use it very much at all, it doesn't really go away. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I speak Portuguese every day. I speak Spanish and Catalan also pretty much every day. I mean, I have to speak them when I'm out and about in the world here, because that's what they speak here. Maybe a little bit more Spanish, just also the demographic reality here. Excuse me. Yeah, but so the languages that I speak are all kind of similar too, so learning them, I think, is made easier. When languages are related to each other, they're more similar, so all of the languages that I speak well are all basically related, except for English. So I think like at some point it's just sort of like throw another one on the pile, like but I do use them all kind of on a regular basis, except for French. But yeah, the four main ones I use all the time. So I don't describe myself as a polyglot, but I guess you could technically say that. But I would put a gigantic asterisk on that. Yeah. What made me want to get started on doing this YouTube channel? I think I did. I don't know if I said that on. I'll just say it again. But I was talking about the videos that I have done earlier. But I started my YouTube channel about 10 years ago because I was an early 20s twink just wanting to connect with people on the internet. And then a few years later, after I had moved to Barcelona, I had felt a sort of urge to keep my Portuguese fresh and authentic. Was feeling like it was being influenced by Brazilian people that I, sort of know and lived with at the time. And also Spanish and things like that, where I felt like my Portuguese was kind of turning into a thing that wasn't really authentic to how I learned it and the language itself. And so I started to make videos about Portuguese as a way of kind of getting my ideas straight in my head. And I figured, what better way to like consolidate these things in your mind than to explain it to somebody else. And that then turned into me applying my knowledge of how to do research from being somebody who has studied at high levels. I have done graduate studies, not necessarily in linguistics, but like I have done graduate studies. I know how to do research. And I had a base of linguistics courses that I took in undergrad, and always studied language stuff, things that are relevant to that, and language and cultural questions and what have you. So like that was never a problem. And then I kind of took all of that and hit the ground running, with leaning into Portuguese linguistics on the channel and offline too. And so for me, it was like, it was just like kind of a necessary thing to keep going and keep sharing this information that I was not necessarily learning for the first time, but a lot of it I did. And that's just how this channel happened. So I have old linguistics content from probably 7 years ago. A lot of it is from 2020 because I was gonna make a big push. 2000, I want to say 19, I had a video that hit the algorithm and went like mildly viral, and I wanted to make a big push in 2020 to kind of recapture some of that momentum because I just like didn't take advantage of it that well, and like that's why my channel doesn't have, I don't know, 10,000 subscribers. It has 7.4. I'm very grateful for all of the subscribers and everybody who watches, of course, but yeah, I had a video that had gone mildly viral, and it just, in 2020, I thought I'll get back into this YouTube thing and make some videos more consistently. There was a tech thing back then, I think, that I was had been dealing with as well. It's always the tech tripping me up. And then I did that for a while in 2020, and then the pandemic happened, and it was another thing that helped keep me going. So I just, yeah, I mean, at that point, it's like all of my studies had been really consolidated, and like the things that I was talking about got increasingly more technical and what have you. Then I took 2 years of just not being here. So what did I miss from the chat? Matt bragging. Not bragging. How many languages do Colorado? Ugh, not Colorado. I don't hate everyone who lives in the US, but I'm not the United States' biggest fan. High enough level, early enough in life too, probably. Yes, I agree. Polyglot. Gets easier after the 15th, not after the 15th. Teaching is the best way of learning. I think it's a very good and effective way of learning. And what made me in languages and linguistics and getting into university? Well, I was always just a little nerd interested in languages and linguistics. I had studied linguistics on my own before university. And then in university I had the chance to take like formal classes in it and consolidate some of my base knowledge. So I don't hate the HMJ people at all. You all are very entertaining. Yeah, so I was just always a nerd about languages and really into that. And then I was able to, over time, make it like my actual, like, I work with translating Portuguese to English as well, and I work with other language things. So, yeah, it's kind of like my whole thing. Hello, wow, it's been a while. I used to watch you. Hey, well, hello. Thank you for being here. I'm glad that you could make it. I know that we're a couple hours into the stream and I've been talking a lot about stuff, but I am back, at least for right now. I posted my video and I'm glad that you found it. I'm really glad that YouTube showed it to you. And welcome to the live. Antes que eu esqueça, vou voltar ao português para explicar as coisas. Eu contei a história de como eu vou possivelmente ter a nacionalidade mexicana, sendo que eu propriamente não sou mexicano. Eu não cresci num ambiente familiar mexicano, ou seja, eu não sou... Não é a minha etnia, tipo, eu não tenho nenhum vínculo com o país em termos familiares nem nada, mas, well, boa. A história por trás disso é literalmente uma ligação com uma conexão com o país, mas um vínculo com o país. Mas em termos gerais, culturalmente, eu não sou mexicano, nunca vou ser. Mas eu contei a história porque isto é uma coisa que me aconteceu também quando eu estive fora estes 2 anos, que eu não publico nada, e que em parte, olha, para mim foi uma história que eu queria contar aqui no canal, porque embora seja uma coisa mais pessoal, e eu não conto grandes detalhes pessoais da minha vida privada, esta história é bastante interessante, eu acho. Diria que é uma história... olha... Hey Adam, welcome to my live. I'm talking in Portuguese right now, but I'll be back in English soon. Mas esta história eu acho que tem bastante piada, eu acho que é uma história bastante interessante e não são todos os dias que uma história destas surge para as pessoas, quando descobrimos coisas do nosso antepassado, que não sabíamos antes. Eu, como muita gente nos Estados Unidos, ou se calhar em geral, eu não sabia grande coisa da minha ancestralidade, tipo, há 3 gerações atrás, tipo, mais que 2 gerações atrás, eu não sabia grande coisa. Se és dos parentes... eu não vou fazer isso, Paulo. Mas boa tentativa. Mas como muita gente, eu não sabia nada dessas pessoas. Eu não tinha consistência do meu passado familiar. Então eu estive a procurar coisas, fazer pesquisa genealógica. Já começamos a chegar à hora em que eu começo a não conseguir pronunciar palavras grandes. Não, mas a fazer pesquisa genealógica e por curiosidade e por querer saber mais da minha família. Tipo, tenho uma família pequena por ambos os lados, e com esta família pequena e como não sabemos grande coisa, eu comecei a pensar, olha, seria melhor saber mais alguma coisa destas famílias, tipo, dos dois lados. De um lado em particular, o lado do meu pai, descobrimos grandes coisas. Uma delas é not dermatologic. I wish. Expensive shit. Mas descobrimos grandes coisas do lado do meu pai, que inclui esta saga da nacionalidade mexicana, que remete a 120 anos atrás. Tipo, há 120 anos nasceu o meu bisavô no México, na cidade de Monterrey, no estado de Novo Leão, e isto foi antes da Revolução Mexicana. Isto foi há bastante tempo, em muito tempo. Estes homens tiveram filhos muito tarde também, mas ele nasceu no México, e como o México é como o resto da América, e Ryan, please. O México é como o resto da América, salvo, eu acho que um país só, no continente, que tem cidadania por nascimento. Tipo, se nasceres no solo de qualquer país da América, tipo, ganhas automaticamente a cidadania desse país. Que é uma coisa interessante. É uma coisa, eu acho que é bom para as sociedades coloniais, com essa herança colonial e tal, mas faz com que o meu bisavô, o que aconteceu foi que o meu tataravô estava a trabalhar enquanto médico em Monterrey, ou algo do género. Tipo, ele era médico e estava a trabalhar na cidade. Não sei porquê raios estava no México, porque eram brancos americanos, tipo, muito típicos. A família continuou a ser, Tipo, a família não se integrou no México assim, porque o meu tataravô morreu logo após o nascimento do meu bisavô. E então, por muita coincidência, muita casualidade, muito acaso, o meu bisavô nasceu no México. E, portanto, como nasceu no México, tinha a nacionalidade mexicana automaticamente. Na concepção moderna da cidadania, tipo, funciona assim. E é uma coisa interessante, é um pormenor interessante. Eu estava a olhar, tipo, essa cena genealógica e não pensei grande coisa disso. Era só uma historiazinha interessante da história. Tipo, eu achei pouco mais. Logo surge uma dúvida, alguns meses depois, e eu pensei, olha, será que não há alguma coisa ali, nisso, que eu possa, tipo, ter uma cidadania diferente também, só por curiosidade, só por acaso. Apesar de eu nunca ter pisado solo mexicano na vida, eu não saber grande coisa do México. My following is actually a lot more heterosexual than you might suspect. Which is fine by me, but you know. Anyway, aliás, do México tipo, a geografia do México, alguma ideia geral da história do México, sem entrar em pormenores, grandes detalhes. Sim, eu sei alguma coisa do México. Com tudo isto, eu fiquei um pouco mais familiarizado com a cultura mexicana também, com mais referências culturais atuais e históricas. Mas antes disso, na verdade, a verdade seja dita, eu não tinha grande ideia da cultura mexicana, fora da cultura mexicana-americana. A cultura mexicana-americana não é exatamente a mesma coisa. Tipo, a fronteira mudou e os mexicanos presentes no que seria os Estados Unidos depois passaram a ser americanos. Ok, tudo bem. Eu sei que eu estou a usar a palavra americano por conveniência e há pessoas que discordam com esse uso, mas vocês já perceberam. Enfim, esses mexicanos que passaram a ser mexicano-americanos não têm uma cultura exatamente igual à cultura mexicana do México, do próprio país. Com o passar do tempo, tem-se mudado bastante, tem-se americanizado, digamos assim, e há diferenças. Então, os mexicanos com que eu cresci no Colorado não são propriamente mexicanos tipo do México, mas outra coisa distinta. Então, antes de toda esta saga, eu não tinha grande noção não tinha da cultura mexicana. Mas depois disso começou a surgir-me conteúdo mexicano e eu ganhei bastantes referências culturais e alguma imagem da cultura popular e etc, etc, etc. E enfim, por alguém que não tem vínculo com o país, não tem ligação cultural com o país, eu pensei que podia ser interessante se eu pudesse ter uma nacionalidade a mais, tipo um pormenor, um direito interessante, apesar de ser uma curiosidade histórica. E comecei a olhar e resultou que em 2021 o México mudou a constituição do país e legislou que seria possível manter a linha de manter a cidadania por gerações, a linha de direta de cidadania fora do país, desde que o pai ou a mãe, os pais da pessoa sejam sempre mexicanos por nascimento. Ou seja, uma pessoa pode nascer no exterior e continuar a ser mexicano desde que os pais sejam mexicanos. E, portanto, sem limites no número de gerações, podia ser interessante se eu pudesse manter a linha através deste bisavô. E resultou que eu tive a possibilidade de buscar, de procurar o certidão de nascimento, que também foi toda uma cena. Eu tive de buscar este documento ao arquivo estatal de Novo Leão, por causa de datar de antes da Revolução Mexicana. Então tiveram que tirá-lo do arquivo estatal, digitalizá-lo e depois passá-lo para o registro civil. E depois, no registro civil, colocaram todas as informações e agora eu tenho uma cópia aqui, que não vos vou mostrar, mas eu tenho aqui. Uma cópia... Não, até posso mostrar alguma coisa. Vamos tirar este documentozinho. Não vos vou mostrar detalhes, porque realmente não precisam de saber. Mas é muito engraçado que eu tenha este documento. É um documento oficial do México. Yeah. How can I cover this? É um documento oficial. Eu só que vou mostrar. Mas eu tenho um documento oficial que diz que eu tenho um ascendente que foi mesmo mexicano. E isto é um documento oficial do México que eu tive uma amiga muito generosa, muito, muito simpática, muito gentil, que me foi buscar tudo isto. Ela fez todas as chamadas para todas as agências, todos os departamentos que foram precisos para fazer com que isto fosse possível. E ela fez tudo que pudesse para ganhar esta certidão de nascimento. Ou seja, tipo, se não fosse esta amiga minha na cidade de México, uma mulher mexicana também, eu muito provavelmente não tinha este documento e não seria possível não seria possível prosseguir com este processo de tentar a sorte com a cidadania mexicana. Mas enfim, agora estou num processo com um advogado, pois resulta que então isto foi o meu bisavô, ou seja, 3 gerações antes, a terceira geração antes de mim, ou seja, bisavô, avô, pai, eu. O meu avô morreu antes de eu nascer, ou seja, isso trava um pouco o processo. This chat is... I'm glad you're having fun. Não, mas então, o meu avô morreu antes de eu nascer e isso pode ser uma travagem muito grande, pode travar por completo o processo. Ou não. Eu estou agora em contacto com advogados no México para ver se há alguma possibilidade de registá-lo no registro civil, porque se eu posso colocar os dados do meu avô no registro civil do México, eu posso continuar a seguir a linha com o meu pai e ele ele declara a sua nacionalidade mexicana e depois eu também posso. E portanto, pois seria muito interessante. E por essa via eu podia adquirir ou reivindicar uma nacionalidade mexicana. Então estou neste processo agora de falar com um advogado para ver se seria possível fazer o registro no registro civil. E isto foi uma história, um motivo meu também por não publicar um vídeo também nestes 2 anos, pois é uma história que eu quero contar aqui no canal. É uma história interessante, mas é uma história inacabada. Eu ainda não tenho resultados do processo, eu não tenho o passaporte nas minhas mãos. As pessoas perguntaram o que eu faria com o passaporte, se eu ia visitar o México. Claramente eu ia querer visitar o México e descobrir o país que me dá um documento dessas. Mas também seria interessante usar esse passaporte aqui em Espanha para adquirir a nacionalidade espanhola. Tipo, eu nunca tive vontade, eu continuo sem vontade de ser espanhol, mas Espanha facilita muito os cidadãos das ex-colónias de adquirirem a nacionalidade espanhola. Ou seja, seria muito fácil adquirir. Take a shot every time I say adquirir. A nacionalidade espanhola por via disso, e eu podia ter 3 nacionalidades, e seria bastante interessante. Podia ser uma vantagem para mim, sei lá, mas um dia ainda espero poder adquirir a nacionalidade portuguesa, que seria o que eu preferia, porque eu tenho uma... Para mim, Portugal é mais casa do que Espanha. E eu sinto-me muito mais próximo dos portugueses e mais interessado na cultura portuguesa do que a cultura espanhola. I don't know how you say clicky in Portuguese. That's such a meme that I don't even think I can translate that. Mas enfim, tem tudo isso. Eu não sei se eu falei, não sei se eu disse mais alguma coisa. Outra coisa que eu contei aqui foi... há um par de coisas que eu contei antes de voltar para o inglês. A Glizzy perguntou porque é que eu comecei aqui no canal. Comecei há 10 anos. Just for all of you who are not in the Half Moon Joe streams, the Half Moon Joe people are referring to a Half Moon Joe meme lore thing. So I don't have a great explanation for it. Not clicável. Mas a Glizzy tinha perguntado porque é que eu comecei. Comecei há 10 anos. Um twink jovem de 22 anos. A querer... sei lá, fazer amigos na internet. Tipo, relacionar-me com pessoas parecidas. Tipo, encontrar a minha tribo, sei lá. Sei lá. Mas, tipo, uma pessoa só entrar no mundo, 20 e poucos anos, tipo, e era outros tempos no YouTube também. Eu comecei por fazer isso. E logo depois de um tempo, 7 anos atrás, lá por volta de 2016, eu não vou traduzir twink, pois twink também não tem grande tradução. You embarrassing me on my streams? This is a time-honored tradition on this channel. It really is. So this is actually very much in keeping with how things go here. 7 anos atrás eu comecei a perceber que o meu português estava a sofrer influências do espanhol, da minha convivência com brasileiros. Eu achei que não seria genuíno nem autêntico deixar que o meu português ficasse assim misturado, até porque um português misturado não existe na realidade do mundo. e eu queria manter um português mais genuíno ao português que aprendi em Lisboa, em particular. Eu morei em Lisboa, em Portugal. Eu não morei no Porto, não morei no Sul, no Faro. Então, queria manter o meu português genuíno. E eu pensei, que forma melhor de manter bem separadas as coisas que explicá-las neste canalzinho meu. Eu comecei a fazer vídeos sobre isso. E com o passar do tempo eu comecei a... É claro, eu comecei a pôr em prática todo o meu conhecimento de fazer estudo, tipo, estudar, fazer pesquisa. Pois eu estudei um mestrado, eu sei fazer pesquisa, eu sei estudar. O mestrado não foi eu não fiz o mestrado na linguística, foi em ciências políticas, mas o ponto é que eu sempre tive ao meu alcance a possibilidade de fazer estudos em qualquer coisa que me interessasse, e com uma linguística que me interessa, e a língua portuguesa, resolvi juntá-los, os dois, e comecei a estudar a linguística portuguesa em mais profundidade, e com o tempo fui explicando coisas e aprendendo ao mesmo tempo, aplicando conceitos da linguística que eu já tinha estudado na faculdade, e foi assim que cheguei a fazer vídeos aqui no canal. E foi isso, eu acho que foi tudo. E também há 11 anos que eu não vou aos Estados Unidos porque eu não tenho interesse. Eu acho muito mais interessante que as pessoas me venham visitar do que eu ir de volta visitar o Colorado, pois eu morei 20 anos no Colorado. Eu acho que eu já conheço bastante bem o estado e eu não tenho a mínima vontade de voltar lá. Então não vou, porque eu também conheço a esmagadora maioria das coisas que eu queria conhecer nos Estados Unidos. Há um par de coisas que eu não conheço, nunca fui visitar, mas a este ponto eu não tenho vontade suficiente para ir. Não vou dizer realizar esse sonho, pois nunca foi um sonho, mas tipo, para ir e visitar essas coisas. Anti-imperialismo, eu fui a colonização ao reverso, ao contrário. Colonizei o colonizador. I'm getting back to English because I see some funny things going on in the chat. Ryan, was that a read? I'm gonna let you just sit and ponder. Great example of an heterosexual. Yeah, so my chat is actually very largely heterosexual. There are a lot of straight people in my chat, and who watch my videos on my channel. Many more than you might suspect. I have never made any bones about the fact that I myself am not. And I think it's just obvious. Although the older I get, there are people in the world who see me and somehow do not think it's obvious, which I think is mind-blowing. And yeah, so there were some in-group jokes from the Half Moon Joe community going on, and not clickable. That's really funny. That literally means able to click. I don't think there's a translation for twink. Oh, I'm at the point where I need water. Lizzie, I have not been in the closet since I was 14 years old. Me being openly out is just a fact of my reality forever and always. Twink, escrito assim, à portuguesa, é uma das melhores coisas que eu já vi. Yeah, there are no polls. I mean, I think technically you might be able to make a poll on YouTube, but I'm not really sure how that works, and I'm not really interested in figuring it out. Maybe one day I'll stream on Twitch, but probably not. I am a lot sassier than I used to be. Honestly, I would probably chalk that up to, like the Half Moon Joe people being here, it definitely helps. Because I'm just kind of my normal, not intellectual gay self in that chat. So people see a very different side of me there than you do on this channel. That you get to see a little bit in these lives for sure, but definitely not in my videos at all. And I think there's definitely a level of just like being more comfortable doing this stuff and just being me involved with it. Where I know the first, I've done a couple dozen lives over the past few years, but I know that the first several lives that I did, I still tried to be very serious and whatever. And I'm really glad that even back then, without having any like of the Half Moon Joe people watching my stuff or caring about it, people in my chat would kind of try to make me crack, and it was always a funny thing. And it was always funny to see how people would try to like make me laugh or embarrass me. And I like having that sort of personal dynamic with everyone. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to sit here and chat with everybody. My favorite part of doing the lives is chatting and just seeing what everybody's got on their mind and got going on. Oh God, Michaela. How long do you have? I can actually give you a summary. The Tyler Oakley comparison. What is that comparison? So the major differences. So Portuguese is kind of a unique. It's in kind of a unique position. So English, if we think about how British English, we'll say standardized, BBC English versus, general American standard English, is actually not that different to each other. Like, there are different words, there's a little bit of different grammar, but not that much. It's a little different. And there are obviously big pronunciation differences in terms of accents and stuff, and the UK has a lot of very different accents. But then Portuguese is way further apart. It's not just the accent, it's grammar, it's fundamental vocabulary for a lot of things. It's just every little thing that could make a language different is pretty much different in a lot of ways. Now, it's still the same language, and so the base of everything is still very much coincides. The base of Portuguese between Brazil and Portugal, the core, 80% of vocabulary or whatever is still the same. So it's not like they're different languages, although maybe in 300 years they will be, 500, 600, I don't know. But they sound so extremely different, and there's such deep grammatical differences between them that the differences between Portuguese in Europe and Brazil are significantly further than the differences between English in the US and the UK. So that's kind of the Cliff's Notes version of explaining it, I would say. I would say that it's fair to call them dialects. I think that in Portuguese linguistics, dialects is a word that is kind of not used. We call them varieties or variants of Portuguese, only because of certain sort of the history of language use and stuff, and colonial dynamics. But yeah, essentially, I would say that it's different dialects, and they're still mutually understandable, but it's not completely symmetrical either. So Brazilians have a much harder time understanding Portuguese people than Portuguese people have understanding Brazilians, because Portuguese people have been watching Brazilian soap operas for 40 years. and Brazilians consume absolutely no media from Portugal. But with a little bit of adjustment and a little bit of work put into it, Brazilians can also still understand like Portuguese people. So it's like they're not separate languages, but they're, like they're definitely distinct dialects. Like if we're just taking like the standardized version of the language in each place. Glizzy, let's see. This isn't in the intent of my videos. Hearing about it. I think that's really cool. Get in touch with your roots and learn that language. I think that's cool. Like, if you have a connection and it's something that interests you, I think that you should always explore your cultural connections. I think having a cultural connection to somewhere, and even if you're not like pretending like you are from that place or whatever, I think there's a lot that you can do with feeling a connection with somewhere and exploring that culture and learning about it and enriching your own life through that. So I think that the idea of getting in touch with your roots and, learning new things and taking on new things in your life is, I think there's only like positive things to be gained from that. I think that that's a very common theme on my channel actually, is just like, it's kind of like the ultimate form of cultural appreciation if you think about it. And it's kind of like the ultimate point of learning a language is you have the opportunity to connect with people and you have the opportunity to make a meaningful connection with people based on something that is relevant to you. Because I think that the more relevant something is to you, the stronger you're going to feel about it and the more you're going to actively want to pursue it. And yeah, so I actually think that that's cool. I think that's something that's not this. I think that's something that's totally like worth doing and really worthwhile. I would say that that's actually a very common theme on this channel. It's a common theme of things that I talk about and things that I would say that are the focus of like the studies that I do and my interest in being in other places where I don't necessarily have like roots in Portugal or in Spain or whatever, but like, I've got this just happenstance life experience where I happen to stumble upon coming into the world and coming into being an adult, and the most formative years of my life being in one place and speaking a certain language. And so, it's just kind of this adventure that's turned into this lifelong thing. And I think that these are really fun, interesting things that can happen to people. And I don't think it's ever too late to start. People have different levels of difficulty in learning languages. And the older you get, of course, the harder it is. But like, it's never too late to start. You can always learn something. What else what else is going on over here? A good time and a long time, especially if someone is explaining linguistics. Me too. Don't. Paulo, get a grip. They sound like different languages to the untrained ear, for sure. English versus Scots or Shetlandic? No, because Scots is a different language. That's a little fraught with its own politics. But it's not that. I can't say that comparison is the most just. I would say maybe if you thought, maybe if you think of how like Danes and Swedes can kind of understand each other, but not really, but can, but not really. It might be sort of similar to that, or maybe even Danes and Norwegians, where they really do understand each other mostly, and depending on like the dialect groups of those languages that are closer together are really just on a continuum. I would say that that's maybe a closer parallel to like the distance. where each one is still kind of distinctly its own thing, but again, it still exists on a continuum. Did I just call you old? I mean, I'll let you decide. I don't know who the X was for. Oh God. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna translate that to Portuguese. Actually, I will, because I try to translate everything to Portuguese, because I know that a lot of people will watch this who mostly speak Portuguese later. So I will translate some of that to Portuguese. Mas eu vou fazer um resumo em vez de repetir exatamente tudo bem traduzido, porque eu estou a ficar assim, tipo, preguiçoso. Com um pouco de preguiça neste exato momento. A Micaela tinha perguntado, enquanto pessoa que não sabe absolutamente nada do português, perguntou a grande questão, a grande pergunta que todos fazem, que é quais são as diferenças entre o português europeu e brasileiro, que nós, enquanto falantes do português, sabemos que é a grande questão, com letras capitais, tipo letras maiúsculas. Até mesmo para os lusófonos. Mas, não, eu fiz um resumo das grandes diferenças. Tipo, a distância entre o português o português europeu e brasileiro é maior do que a distância entre o inglês britânico e americano. É um facto muito simples. Há mais diferenças de pronúncia, há mais diferenças de prosódia, há mais diferenças de vocabulário, há mais diferenças especialmente de gramática, e que isto também é uma coisa assimétrica, pois os portugueses têm muito mais facilidade de perceber os brasileiros do que ao contrário. O invés, realmente, por falta de conteúdos mediáticos no Brasil provindos de Portugal, pois os brasileiros sofrem com o sotaque português, ou os sotaques portugueses europeus. Mas os portugueses, por assistirem às novelas durante 40 anos já, não têm grandes dificuldades em perceber o português brasileiro em geral, por causa disso, por causa da exposição que eles têm aos média brasileiros. E a Glizzy tinha dito que ouvir esta conversa sobre coisas de português dá-lhe inspiração de estudar o polaco e explorar as raízes polacas, e disse que sabe que não é exatamente o foco deste canal e tal, mas eu diria antes pelo contrário. Eu encorajo qualquer pessoa que tenha alguma raiz ou alguma ligação cultural a explorar essa ligação, a descobrir mais sobre essa cultura e o que pode vir disso, porque afinal é o que nos faz interessante, é o que nos dá um pouco de riqueza nas nossas vidas. E esta vida é única, só temos uma, e então devia ser o mais culturalmente rica possível, não é? Também eu encorajo qualquer pessoa que tenha um interesse, até um interesse, e não só uma conexão cultural ou raiz ou o que quer que seja, a, sei lá, fazer alguma coisa com isso. Tipo, nunca é tarde. É claro que depois de certa idade e já com o passar do tempo fica cada vez mais difícil aprender línguas, mas tipo, nunca é tarde para começar a aprender uma língua. Sempre se pode aprender alguma coisa, sempre se pode fazer um esforço, e nunca é tarde explorar essas coisas, descobrir coisas novas Eu acho que descobrindo coisas novas é uma das coisas que, e fazer isso ao longo da vida é uma coisa que nos mantém jovem também. A mente, as faculdades. Um, yeah. We're going to go back to English now because I'm feeling a little lazy about translating, which is what I said in Portuguese too. Enrique says that Metropolitan French, so French from France versus Quebecois, is probably a closer comparison or more accurate one. Excuse me. I've been talking for 3 hours. Although the difference is still a little bit smaller than the case of Portuguese, and I think that that's probably a very fair point of comparison. I would say that there are fewer grammatical differences between Quebecois and French from France, or Metropolitan French, which is the main reason why it's not quite as distant, but pronunciation-wise, I don't know what you just said. Like, I actually don't understand what that means. Paulo? As vida. Yeah, I was thinking as nossas vidas, and I said as vida. Okay, I get that. I'll caught up now. Yeah, I think the major thing that keeps the dialects of France, those two dialects of French, closer is just that grammatically they have not diverged as much as Portuguese has, because Brazilian Portuguese is fairly unique in that it has had a lot of influence from the unique demographic situation that it was in with the slave trade and with migration and other things that have had very profound influences on pronunciation and grammar of the language. So the distance is still just a little bit further than Canadian and European French. Yeah, well, I've been talking for about 3 hours and 15 minutes, and it's getting a little bit late here, so I think it might be time to wrap this live up. But, no, it was funny. That was funny, Paolo. That was actually, like, really funny. I think it's probably time to wrap it up. It has been 3 hours of talking, which is a lot. You can tell that I'm getting a little raspy from it too. This is really fun. I wanted to just say thank you to everybody who has been here this whole time. Anybody who's been here the whole time, I'm really impressed that you have 3 hours of attention to give me. But anybody who's made it here today, anybody who has been watching off and on, whatever, anybody who watches this video later, thank you very, very much for being here. Coming back to YouTube and having so much of an outpouring of support from people is really wild to me, and I did not in any capacity expect that. I am still shocked that happened, so I'm really, really thankful to everybody who made that happen. And you know, I'll be back. I will be back. I'm not going to promise when, but I will be back. And you know, we've got a new stream set up. I've got a brand new light. I actually have 3 lights now. I have 2 little mini lights, and I've got a brand new stream set up. And so I will be back with a live stream again sometime. Maybe not soon, but sometime. I know that over the winter holidays, I'm going to have some time where I'm going to be real bored, and I might do a live at that point too, just to chit chat. But yeah, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it so much. And again, I'm just shocked at the reception that my video has had. So doing this little live and showing some appreciation for that in such a way, I'm glad that you're interested in watching that video. I hope you learned something about Portuguese in watching that video. I hope that you took an interest in something you might not have had an interest in beforehand, even though that comment that I had gotten was very concerned that people might get the wrong impression of Mozambique. I hope that you did not get a terrible impression of Mozambique. You know, I hope that you found it interesting and maybe, would not necessarily love to like learn more, but if you do, that would be incredible. But if you did find it interesting and you learned something about a country that you knew nothing about and enjoyed it, like I would be over the moon. Like that would be really, really cool to me. So yes, thank you. I'm gonna wrap up in English again, but I'm gonna translate this and then I'm gonna completely finish and then we'll end the stream, okay? So hold with me because I have an end card and everything. It's all new and I love the shiny little graphics that I made in Canva for this. But we will be wrapping up. But I'm gonna translate all that to Portuguese and then we're gonna completely finish in English. And Shira, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here with the stream in the background. I appreciate it a lot. I appreciate everybody who's been watching so much, so much. So thank you for your comment too. Yeah, so one last time, outra vez em português. Já lá vão 3 horas e agora quase meia, 3 horas e 20. Já começa a ficar tarde aqui. Aqui em Espanha já são as 2h20 da manhã. E vou-vos dizer que eu não tinha expectativa nenhuma. Eu não esperava o sucesso deste vídeo, de voltar ao YouTube depois de tanto tempo e ver que as pessoas queriam ver mais conteúdo meu e que procuravam conteúdo meu e que apoiavam tanto uma coisa que eu fiz. Para ser muito sincero, eu fico bastante emocionado com isso. Tipo, é uma coisa que eu não esperava. Eu sou muito grato. Eu tenho muita gratidão por isto ter acontecido. Este vídeo foi um sucesso por qualquer métrica que se possa aplicar e eu não esperava. Sinceramente, eu achei que este canal tinha ficado no olvido, no esquecimento. Mas eu vou acabando a live aqui. Muito obrigado a todos por terem assistido a esta live, a este vídeo, se tiverem a ver este vídeo depois. Sou muito grato de terem continuado a apoiar o canal e de me terem dado o vosso tempo também, porque há pessoas que estão aqui há 3 horas e 20 e eu sou muito grato. Fico muito contente que tenham gostado, fico muito contente que tenham ficado comigo estes 2 anos de ausência. Eu vou dizer também que eu vou voltar com lives e vídeos também, mas eu vou voltar com lives, talvez um pouco mais frequente do que os vídeos, mas especificamente com as festas de fim do ano. Muito provavelmente vai haver algum momento em que eu fico entediado ou fico sem o que fazer, sei lá, e eu vou muito provavelmente, ou se calhar indeciso, fazer outra live. Então é isso. Muito obrigado a todos por estarem aqui. Eu vou voltar ao inglês para concluir o vídeo, mas concluir a live. Mas eu tenho ainda o gráfico da live a acabar para formalizar, mas eu tenho tudo aqui, todo o setup novo para fazer estas coisas e eu gostava de voltar a frequentar um pouco mais do que a cada 2 anos. Então é isso. Okay, everybody. First of all, Oracle, if you're here, thank you for buying me 3 coffees. I just saw that, and that is super, super sweet. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And that's from the Buy Me a Coffee link. So, thank you so much. That's really lovely. I'm gonna end this live here. I see all of that. Andrew, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And Enrique said, people from Twitch, feel free to join the Discord. Yeah, if you guys want to talk about language stuff or just want to chit chat with these language nerds, you can feel free to join my Discord. You know, it is a thing. It's a little Discord. It's not always super active, but we have some fun conversations there. And if you're looking to learn Portuguese, you know, there was somebody who came in earlier, and I don't know if I addressed them, and I'm sorry if I didn't get to you, who said that they sent their brother to me, but if you're here still, thank you for sending my videos to them. If not, I'll find you later, and I will thank you, because I think you're an HMJ person, and that's really cool. Yeah, so feel free to join the Discord. Feel free to join the Discord. Thank you all so much for being here. Andrew, Enrique, Mac, Shira, Ryan, Glizzy, Jay, PMF. What is your actual name? I'll have to figure that out. Thank you so much for all being here. Michaela, Oracle, probably missing somebody, but it's really nice to see all of you, and I will catch you the next time I do this.